Millions of people who are continually pale and washed out, weak and run down. Doctors will tell you that these conditions are often caused by a deficiency of iron. The iron you need to keep you physically fit and mentally alert. Medical studies show that 2 out of 3 women and many, many men lack the daily iron your body requires in a form your body can easily use and put to work. Every dose gives you more than your daily minimum iron requirement.
We are awake, we are the way, we are not alone. We are striving for more.
So if you're not getting the iron your body needs, feel weak, run down, and are easily upset, start taking iron today.
It is Tuesday, my dudes.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's Friday, my dudes.
Thank God it's Friday.
TGIF, everybody. Thank God it's Friday. Such an honor and a privilege to be hanging out with you fine folks this evening. Tonight is a show that is long in the making. Pardon me. And I think it's going to be a good one. So I need to apologize first for making it so long. I definitely should have been doing this a while back, but unfortunately, I was in the midst of moving and just couldn't see how I could possibly do all of it on a Friday night. So I had to cancel, and poor Dom had to reschedule, and then it fell on Thanksgiving weekend, so we had to reschedule again. But we are here tonight, and I'm excited. Walter may be MIA for a little bit. If there's a chance he might show up. We're not going to hold our breath. It's Michelle's birthday, so hopefully he's going to devote his time and energy there instead of here, as much as he would like to be here. Maybe he'll pop into chat. You never can tell with Walter. But let's go ahead and say hello to our other partner in crime, Walter, and my other partner. I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Zachary Zabala, otherwise known as Good Times for All, is a friend of ours, and he joins us every Tuesday and Friday morning over on the Ironworks on Truth Frequency Radio. That's what I was trying to spit out. Jesus. Zach, how are you doing? Did you get a nap in today? Because I obviously didn't.
Yes, I did. I went and got some stuff done early, got some running done and all that. And, yeah, a lot of mental exercises today, just thoughts on new tests I'm going to be doing here. Very short, or really not new tests I've already done and shown, older ones, but they were done a long time ago on a crappy cell phone, and we're going to make it a little more, modern. They're kind of long and drawn out, and me just sitting there talking instead of to the point, more natural. I mean, they're up on my channel and all that good stuff, but we're going to redo some of this older stuff on, just how electricity works. And naturally, how it naturally is, and the things that take place just with electricity alone. So I'm getting back into it, getting excited. It's a good feeling. Searching for a wooden, we're just gonna have to drop these from somewhere shorter. It's just what it's gonna have to be, and see what happens. That's the whole trying to get 100 feet or higher is not looking promising at all. All the things that are that high that are, open to the public and this and that, most of it's all run down and old, all the old fire towers and stuff. Everything's done with drones and, satellites now.
And I suppose they're so heavy that would not be an option.
Well, a lot of them are metal. So I don't want to be dropping magnets next to something metal to try to test its drop rate. I'd rather it be wood, something like that, or, something like that. Something different. Even off a cliff would be better some way. Or off some kind of bridge.
There's a place in... Damn it, I'll have to find it. It's going to be in my history somewhere. I'll be able to dig it up, I'm sure. I was just happened to be looking this morning, I think for that short period of time after the show before I went to work. And I thought I might have found something that might have been potentially worthwhile looking into. That is, if I can find it. So while I look for that, let's say hello to Mr. John Savage. John, how in the hell are you? I do my soundbite, but I'm in the middle of searching for something.
No worries, mate. No worries. Hello, everyone. Good to be here. Yeah, I've got fuck all news, really. My welder turned up today, and you had me thinking it was Tuesday all day.
I thought it was.
Yeah, well, I had to think twice. I was thinking, what the hell? What did he just say Tuesday? And then you said Tuesday, and then Walt said Tuesday, and I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on here then? So, yeah, just for completely confusing the hell out of me this morning, or today.
It's so embarrassing because it really is not the first time I've done it, and it seems like I've done it multiple times recently, probably just because there's been so much shit going on. But the fact that Zach didn't catch it till like the last 2 minutes of the show was classic.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm preoccupied at the moment. I'm making hand holders for this spinning magnet quack box I've got. You know what I'm talking about?
A spinning magnet quack box.
Yeah. You Google search quack box. It's something from, I think it's about 1830s.
I think
maybe?
I did Google this before. Something that your dad had, I think, and left to you or gave to you for something.
Yeah, no, we've had it ever since I was a kid, and it's basically this. It's beautifully made. It's a wooden box with a big magnet inside and a spinning weight with velvet stuck to it, and you basically, it's got a hand crank on the outside, and you crank it while your sister is holding on to the copper tubes, whatever that come out of it, and you can shock. It basically just runs electric current through your, I think it's alternating current through your hand, and it's comes with all these different implements, so you could stick it in your teeth and like over your eyes and all sorts of stuff like that. But it broke along the way, so I've been determined to restore it and electrocute my children with it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment, drilling holes in copper pipes. Love a bit of copper.
So it's like a 19th century TINS unit, huh?
Yeah,
nice.
Basically. But it's only for quacks, of course. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, that sounds exciting. Sorry, I made the mistake of glancing up at chat. Let's go on and say hello to the female side of this little circle we got going on here, because circles have sides. Cammie Nodell, how in the hell are you doing this fine Friday evening?
Hey, I am glad it's Friday. I know it's Friday. I'm feeling good. I'm happy because we're having a show tonight about magnets, and this guest makes me really happy. So how could it be anything but that? We got on the pre-show, and I immediately wanted to like start sharing screens, and was wondering if I was becoming Eru, but probably not quite that bad. Starting to feel better. It's raining here. It's beautiful. And I don't know, I'm excited for the show tonight. Putting plants together with magnets, two of my favorite things to talk about. It doesn't get much better. And I would love, again, somebody that works with magnets hands-on, I would love to run like some of the different things past him and get his ideas why he's on there. He does not have a YouTube channel. And yet something tells me that there's a lot of wisdom to be gained from this gentleman on the screen, and I'm thrilled Izzy is here tonight with us, or Izza. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. A little nervous, first time on the podcast, but my first appearance.
Well, you have nothing to be nervous about here, that's for sure. And I wish I could recreate the excitement that I had when I first found out about the things that you've been doing. And maybe it's because I've been forced to push it back and push it back and push it back because I'm just a lazy bum. But what you have been doing is just mind-boggling. I want to try it in sand. I want to try it in places where plants aren't supposed to grow. There's so many things I want to do with this water, with what you've been playing with, that my mind just reels every time I stop and sit and think, which is why I've been so excited to do the show, because it's going to give me a chance to stop and think and look and see what it is that you're actually doing.
You and me both. I'm amazed. I still look at it with amazement. The effect, the whole results I got out of it. I really didn't expect. I didn't expect anything to this degree. I actually started my garden late in the season, so I was kind of looking for anything that would help, anything that would give me a little boost, and this turned out to be like such like almost incredible, beyond words, and that everybody doesn't employ it, that everybody doesn't know about it. It's kind of mind-boggling to me.
One of the things that, like, maybe as a side topic or something to go on to tonight, though, is I've like learned listening to a lot of the chats and other discussions going on right now. Is people are only looking at the ferromagnetic properties of magnetism, like what you feel about iron being like sucked up against it, and ignoring the rest that's going on or doing that. And some of the things I like that you're looking into is, again, there is much more to magnetic fields and force than just them wanting to stick together, or, you know, again, the way that you're taught in school. The stuff needs to be studied. It has some incredible reciprocal properties, and it factors in with everything. And again, what he's doing is groundbreaking. I don't know how to say it better than that, but please, again, to see how it affects life, how it affects plants, how it affects water. And he's finding that, lo and behold, it does. Would that be a fair statement? Is that you can say that, yes, it does?
Well, that's very fair. Not only does it, I've actually been ever since I saw what it did to the plants. I started to drink I call it structured water. I really don't know what else to call it. Some people call it vortex water. Some people call it living water. And like, I feel better personally from just drinking. I would drink a lot of water anyway, but now I drink this water, and I feel awesome. I feel I have more energy. I believe that there's so many there's so much to magnets that we don't know yet, that that isn't discussed, like you said, and it's I feel like I kind of stumbled on something, and by accident, and it's just amazing. It's when I sent the pictures to Zach, I didn't. The show got pushed off, and I was thinking, well, maybe it wasn't as great as I thought. And then I talked to him later, and he was even amazed at the growth. It pretty much doubled the growth of everything in my garden, like almost within a within a few within a week. You could actually see the difference in the in the plants themselves.
Well, I would say that doubling is got to be statistically significant on any type of scale you can look at. As far as I don't know how you could not do that. Now, when you say like the energized water, I have a question for you. I know that I used to make something called John Ellis energized water. I don't know if you're familiar with that, where you distilled it and ran it over a blue light. Now, the thing about that is for every gallon of good water you got, you made like maybe 6 to 10 gallons of discharge that was not energized. And so the only time I made it was when I was going to fill the hot tub, and I would use the hot tub as the catchment, and it made wonderful, like partially distilled for the hot tub. But what is your energized water? Can you tell us what that is if it's not John Ellis?
Well, it's not. It's basically what I did was built a vortex, it was basically out of bottles, and I run the water. I use rainwater. I capture rainwater, and then I run it through a series of magnets. And I can't take credit for this. I actually got the whole idea from Jamie Lee from A Plain Truth. He was talking about magnets and biomagnetic healing, and I run the water through like a funnel, and it vortexes pretty much naturally as it goes down through 2 positive and 2 negative fields, and then like a double field at the bottom. I run it through these magnets over another bottle full of basically pebbles or marbles, and that's basically it. There's really no magic to it. It just runs through a magnetic field and then vortexes. It's vortex through a magnetic field.
I think the vortexing is a lot of the magic. When you say no magic involved, I think magic is just another word for things that we don't clearly understand what's happening and how the connections are working. And so I think your vortex is your perfect analogy for the magic that's happening, because I think, again, that vortex and what is going on, the pressure, counter pressure field rotation, that is creating a lot of magic in multiple different ways. And you're getting the results. I like this way of energizing. It's a much cleaner, less wasteful, it sounds like, than the John Ellis, that you had to again run the electricity and everything through. You used so much power and so much waste. Somehow it felt wrong. You just knew how much energy you were doing to boil off that much water, and how much again you were wasting to do it. It took a lot of the energy out of it, even though it tasted good. This is a simple. It feels right to me when it's like that. The simple vortexes and the cleanliness of it feels really right.
It's funny because I'm not sure if it's in my mind, but that's after I do this, the water actually feels different. You can actually run your hand through the water, and it just has like a different feel to it. And I'm not really sure how I would describe it, other than like smoother. I don't know if that's even correct. It's the water
It's
actually.
a silkier,
It's the softest water you can possibly imagine.
but not slimy soft, like a soft
No,
water.
not-
It's a whole different way of it's
Well, all those water molecules are moving freely because there's nothing else in there to get in their way. So everything's just runs smoother as the molecules are actually sliding smoother against each other as you put your hand. Drinking distilled water is remarkably different than drinking any other kind of water. Any other kind, even smart water, which is distilled and then they add shit to it. A bottle of smart water versus straight distilled water is just a noticeable difference.
I can, what I do, I have like I said, I capture the rainwater, and I see the difference between the rainwater and because that's like naturally distilled. I have a distiller. I
Well,
actually
yeah, there's
prefer-
also there's living stuff in the rain. Sal ammoniac. It's like ammonium nitrate almost, except for it's natural. And these living things, they're like the building blocks of life. It's amazing the stuff that they do. And yeah,
what's it
that's
called?
why sal ammoniac. Well, that's what. Yeah, I guess they still use that term, but it's an old alchemist term from way back. But it's like natural ammonium.
Okay.
It's not the stuff you can go buy at the store. Naturally, it's a very small amount in the rain. It's not like it's a huge quantity of it or anything like that. But if you gathered like 55-gallon drum of rainwater and let it sit for 18 months without freezing or seeing sunlight, they say this white foam will form at the top of this. I've seen this stuff. I remember when I was younger in a garage down in Kentucky, in an old bucket sitting there, just sitting there, and it had the lid on it. And when I picked the lid up, it was just water, but it had this white, like foamy stuff. Wow, I can't believe that just came back to me when I was talking about it just now.
I'll have to check because I have 4 rain barrels around my house, and the water I actually cycle it through.
The thing is, it takes a long time for this process, and it cannot freeze or be hit with sunlight.
Or sunlight.
It alters it. Weird.
Now that makes me think of something a little bit off target, Zach. But why not? Why not go there? Is everybody familiar with Zach's thought experiment about moonlight and putrefying, and would you age if you weren't exposed to moonlight? And again, that's a little bit different than you might think of about it, is like staying, only being out in the sun. 50% of the time the moon is out with the sun. 50% of the time it's not. So it would be following entire moon cycles. And if the sun being a growth factor and the moon being a putrefying, if you stayed out of the moonlight, would you age? And that got me thinking about the types of lights, incandescent and fluorescent. And I was wondering too, Zach, if you think that could be anything into them putting the push on everybody getting fluorescent lighting and getting rid of incandescent lighting, because maybe the fluorescent lighting is causing some of the same attributes in aging on us. Because again, you can see the huge push to that. Anyone?
Well, I'll chime in here. My friend and I were just talking about the lights, and we've been changing. We've been everybody's pretty been changing the lights to these LED lights, and I actually had the LED lights in one of my rooms, and I removed it. I didn't like the quality of the light. It was I don't know if it was the same wattage of the bulb, but the bulb was actually harsher. The light just, I don't know, it just like kind of, it bothered me. And I actually changed it back to the old bulbs because I enjoyed that light better. And I think it's the whole quality of the light isn't as comfortable. I never really liked fluorescent lights, but I think these LED lights are even,
I think they're more sinister. I think they are more
Yeah.
sinister. I think that as you look into them, they burn through your retinas and that. And I think that they have a lot more, damaging results coming from the way that they're culminated into the LEDs. It's a matter of time before we have a huge, and maybe that's what they're hoping for, macular degeneration and that from the LEDs. I think the fluorescents could be putrefying, but you're right. I agree with you. I think the LEDs are culminated evil.
Well, I definitely see the difference, and And are you saying the light itself is what ages us?
And see, that's where I'm at, because you can't just hide in a cave and.
Yeah, I don't think it's it's the frequencies, which I don't think you can hide from just by going underground or something like that. I don't know how you would do it. Just not be there,
Have to be far enough away from it.
Well, you figure the moon does the sun's path every month. The sun's path in a year, the moon will do every month. So half the month it'll be in the northern hemisphere, and half the month it would be in the southern hemisphere. So you would have to be hopping maybe back and forth, north and south, Argentina to Juneau, Alaska, or I don't know, wherever, Scotland, somewhere
Oh, and that
even
then you're
further
sup-
north, but somewhere where you wouldn't see that effect. I don't know if you'd have to even be further out. I don't know.
That's the moon. It would, because I mean, the sunlight actually, as far as I know, actually has benefit, like both physical and emotional benefits. You know,
Oh yeah,
I always feel,
absolutely.
but it's the light from the moon. I mean,
Yeah, it
most,
putrefies things. It decays things. It's like water. Water is, that's why they call nuclear fission back in the day, that breaking down of things was considered to be water, because water breaks everything down eventually. You know, it'll take a boulder and turn it into a pebble over time, they say, just by running over it. Water is the greatest thing for, you know, breaking things down into small things. Just continually run it over with water and it'll do the job. It may take time, but it'll do it.
The salt
you know,
in it, water.
I've actually questioned that I've actually questioned how much water does erode things. I know a lot of the erosion that we're told happened from water it's very questionable if it happened at all. And you know, like I know it would smooth things out, but I don't know if it would like wear things. Like I know it hasn't worn. My dog's attacking me right now, so I'm sorry. He doesn't like when I'm on the phone, but I don't know if it's eroded things away to the extent that they claim it has. I mean, I'm
No,
not.
it was more like it was like an analogy, them calling it that. You know, the fission of things acted kind of like water breaking it down, and it took a lot of time. Nuclear fission isn't something that happens rapidly. It's slowly, they say it happens, you know, very gradually. The elements start to change because their electric charges are changing within them, getting weaker and weaker and weaker. They say they're losing electrons, but whatever's happening, it's the charge is changing for some reason in a very slow process over time, and it's always happening. Now, what do I know this is to be true or not? No clue. But it's not something that's new, you know. According to like all the old writings, this was a thing, the breaking down of everything, and then it returning to the source and being recycled and being, it's all like a cycle. It comes down to earth, it forms, it breaks up, you know, an electron at a time, like helium, and then rises back up, and then becomes whatever happens up there to it, and then it comes back down. And it's just a big giant cycle, an alchemical process taking place.
I
That was
see.
the way of thinking.
Yeah, I see the alchemical process, but I also see water more than being the destructive force. I see almost like the air and oxidation and different things being destructive and maybe catastrophic winds and that. But water itself, around water, is where you have petrification. That's where you have the rocks being formed and life happening always around water. So I always think of water more as I mean, everything has got a dichotomy, but water to me is much more constructive than destructive on a whole. Again, it creates life all around it. The life putrefies, turns to stone. It feeds the cycle. The water is the breath of the cycle.
You know, I watched something amazing with the water. I watched a guy in England. He put his hand out in the rain, and as the water hit his arm, it pretty much vaporized. And I thought it was maybe a change in the temperature. It didn't seem odd at the time. He thought it was very amazing. But I figured the rain could be cool and his skin hot. There's a whole bunch of factors that you couldn't see on the video. So I actually tried it here in New Jersey in the summer. I put my arm out in the rain. I was out standing in the garage. I put my arm out in the rain, and as the rain came down, it would actually like almost turn to steam on my arm. And if you did it with regular water, it didn't happen. Right? Like I tried it with cold water. I tried to recreate it with different temperature water. So I think maybe the rain's coming down super cool, and my skin's warm and it's evaporating very quickly like that. So I tried it with a couple different things, and it was funny. I could not reproduce that effect with water from the tap at any temperature that I could with that happened with the rain.
Wow, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was actually pretty interesting. I don't know why it happened, but it was interesting to watch.
Yeah, just to have that thought. Okay, I wonder if that happens with water from the tap.
Well, it
Yeah.
certainly doesn't.
Well, did you want to take a look at some of these pictures that you shared with us
Oh, I'd love to.
and go over them? And yeah, did you get those, Josh?
Oh, no.
They should be in this IRM Wednesday pre-show.
Gotcha.
Yeah, as far as I know, water is considered a solvent in chemistry, but we're missing that man, aren't we? But has anyone been on a cruise ship lately? Do they still have signs on the deck saying "Don't fall asleep in the moonlight"?
I've never heard of that.
Are you not?
No, do
Yeah,
tell.
well, I've never been on a big ship, so I really, besides a aircraft carrier, and they don't have wood, you know.
I came over to America on the QE2 once, but I was about a foot tall and bald, so I wouldn't remember. But yeah, apparently they have signs on decks saying "Don't fall asleep in the moonlight" because people just go mad or something along those lines.
Really?
Well, I think so, unless it's an old wives' tale that I've picked up along the way. But
Yeah, I've never heard that. I've never lived, you know, even near the water, like the ocean, to where, you know, there's boat stories and boat talk and this and that and yada yada yada, local this and local that. I've never been accustomed to any of that stuff.
you don't particularly like the water, though, do you?
I like water. I don't care for that much water in one place at one time.
You're scared of sharks. You can tell us.
Well, yeah, that. But and just I mean, that's a lot of water. I wasn't really all that excited to be out there on Lake Michigan when I saw the waves when they were, I think the highest I saw them were like 15 feet. And it's like in January when this happens. They were like freezing up. I had some great pictures and I lost that SD card with my bald eagle pictures and all those pictures. But I heard they were 27 foot on Lake Michigan one year. I wanted to go out and see them, but the weather was horrible. It was real, real cold. And no, I don't. That terrifies me. Just that much water, that much force moving. What if all of a sudden there's just like a 50, 60 footer come? Just crash down right on top of you.
I don't believe that a lot of people in the States actually have any idea. I know I didn't for sure. The first time I saw one of the Great Lakes, I was amazed. I
Oh yeah, they're big.
I don't think people realize how immense they are.
Yeah, you could probably almost get lost out there.
How deep are they?
Lake Michigan, I know, is about 61 feet deep for about, it's just miles and miles and miles. It's nice and flat. There's a forest about 13 miles, I think, off the coast of northwest Indiana, where Gary is and all the steel mills. Right out there, like diagonally. There's an old petrified wood forest under the water. Divers will go down there and check it out. But yeah, it's about 60 feet deep in the southern part of Lake Michigan. The northern, it gets much deeper. I'm not sure. but I know where they have all those locks and stuff like that. You hear stories of underwater welders telling stories of giant catfish with eyes the size of basketballs that have scared them to where they will never go down there again. You couldn't pay them enough money, they say, to go down there ever again. So yeah, I don't know what's in those oceans or what's in those lakes. When I jumped into the middle of Lake Michigan to where I knew I wouldn't be able to swim to the shore, I could still kind of see the shore. We were way out there. As soon as I hit that water, I felt like I was a worm on a hook.
That's not even one of the. I'm sorry. So that's not even one of the biggest ones, is it? Like the Huron and Superior, are way bigger.
Yeah, well, I think Huron is real skinny,
right?
And Superior is more circular shape. I think Michigan has more like area than Superior, but Superior is much deeper, I think. I know Superior is pretty cool. That's like all rock bottom, whereas Lake Michigan has the dunes on the southern end of them, which is all sand everywhere. But you go up to Superior and it's just big, giant boulders, huge, bigger than buses, or not buses, bigger than, a van.
Wow.
Just big, giant boulders, one on top of the other going down into the water. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
I think that's one of the most, to me, that's probably one of the most frightening things. I see, like, right, you see these divers, descending into the water, and just below them is just blackness, the emptiness, and just this depth. I think I would actually experience vertigo there. It's kind of frightening to me to think of that. To have all that water below you.
Yeah, it didn't feel right being in that water. It felt like there could be something very big underneath me that could come up and get me. It didn't feel right. That little voice in my head screamed at me, "Get in the boat now!" And I didn't jump back in the water. I was done.
That primal voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, "You're not supposed to be here. What are you doing out here, moron? Get on the boat."
Nah, I love being in the water, or I used to, as a diver. The best one I went to was in Egypt it was called the drop off, where you go over the edge of the coral reef and there was a kilometer drop off below you. It's fantastic.
God, no way. And then you're just looking out into an ocean, right? A giant, huge, just open nothingness.
Yeah, it's just black, basically. There's a
No,
couple of
yeah,
sharks bobbing around and a couple of barracuda, a few stingray. And I remember once mistaking a whale for a boat. I looked up and saw what I thought was the keel of a boat, and it was actually I think it was a ray shark. It was a long time ago. It was back in '93 or '92, but yeah, I think it was a ray shark, but a freaking massive thing. It was like 30 foot long or 20 foot long, huge thing. Yeah, it's great being underwater. It's like being able to fly. You've got an extra dimension. You can go up and down, and it's fantastic. You get your weight buoyancy right, and you breathe in, and you go up, and you breathe out, and you go down. And I just love it. I could fall asleep.
I know there's
underwater.
a huge the animals even have an advantage on land. I've seen moose face to face. I've been in vehicles and seen bears, stuff like that. I've seen bears on the other side of a nice part of lake to where I knew I could get it. It was just a black bear anyway, but that doesn't scare me. Stuff like that. And moose kill people all the time. Bears kill people, but those things don't when I'm on land. I don't know if it's just a disadvantage in the water. They're just that much faster. But they're that much faster. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I have that fear of sharks so much.
I got bitten by a moray eel once.
Yeah, see, I'd be done. That'd be it. No more going in the ocean.
That's just coming down a coral wall and just saw the ugliest face you can possibly imagine. It's just sitting in a hole. And yeah, there was about 15 foot of eel behind it, and he came out, grabbed my wetsuit, and span around in circles, and took the top layer of my chest of my wetsuit off. That was interesting. But yeah, it didn't bother me, and I don't know why. I think you're in that situation. You're at the mercy. You know, it's either going to go well or it's not. But yeah, I was in a car in a Land Rover in Africa that was being rammed by a rhino. That was fun. Nearly tipped us over as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of my bucket lists is to make, friends with a wild animal that's bigger than I am. A lot, at least twice as much, twice the size, mass wise.
Yeah.
It won't be a shark, I guarantee it. I don't know what it is about them. And it's not just the movie Jaws. I know it's not just that, because I've seen movies, Cujo and all these other scary movies about other animals and this and that. Bear documentaries and whatnot, what they can do. But there's something about the ocean itself. I don't know.
It's humbling, is all I can say. When you get out there in a small boat and you're looking at 15-foot waves around you, and it's humbling, is all I can say.
I have to.
It can turn quick. Sorry, Don.
Yeah, we got shipwrecked in the Indian Ocean. Shipwreck coming from an island off the coast of Africa. We were making it to the mainland coast of Africa and set out. It was a beautiful day. It was like 45 degrees, sun out, everything. I thought, yeah, I'll come along. That'll be a nice few days away. And then, oh my God, and the clouds came in, and the waves got higher, and the engine came out of the water.
Wait. Was this meant to be like a 3-hour tour? Is that what you're saying? Were you there? Were there like two really rich people on board, and like a movie star, a female movie star, maybe?
It was an open top, 25-foot wooden boat. It was I don't know what they call them, with sails,
I don't know.
A 25cc motor.
Say what you want.
Was the skipper heavy set?
The skipper's name was Abdul, and heavy set? What does that mean?
Well, I'm just sitting back and hearing a tale of a fateful trip. I don't know. It just seems strange. Maybe it's nothing, but there were just alarm bells going off. Some sort of.
This is I don't know if you're aware, if you guys ever saw this one over there. There's a show called Gilligan's Island.
Surely Gilligan's Island made it across the pond.
And Gilligan, and they were there for a long time. So you're lucky that you're back already.
Well, what I want to know is did you pick Ginger or Marianne?
I've no idea what the hell you are on about.
All the guys in America know what I'm talking about. Was it Ginger or Marianne for you, Josh?
I'd have to say Marianne. Neither one of them really did it for me. But if I had to pick between those two, right, if I were stranded on a desert island, I suppose is a way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd suppose it'd be Marianne. So there's a long-running TV series here, once upon a time, John, called Gilligan's Island. And that was the whole premise, was that they were supposed to go out on this little 3-hour boat tour, but then the wind picked up and the storm came and blew them out to sea and they got shipwrecked. The
weather started getting rough. The little boat was tossed. If it was not for the fear of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost.
Yeah, that's about right. I think it was meant to take about 12 hours. It was only 25, 30 miles.
A 12-hour tour.
And about 2 days later, bailing this boat out for 24/7. we managed to crash onto an island called Coma, where I spent 3 days.
Sleeping?
No, sort of trying to stay alive, really. It was.
Oh, you're only there
They
2
hadn't-
days.
They hadn't seen White Man for 10 years, over 10 years. I've told you all this shit before.
You have.
Wow, so you're pretty lucky you weren't chicken dinner.
No, they were very nice. They were just like, I mean, I just got followed around by about 40 children everywhere I went, doing everything, you know, including going to the toilet and everything. They were just fascinated.
Okay, Biden.
Really, get out of it.
Yeah, think of it. You showed up in this giant vessel, you know, something they probably never seen before.
No, it was tiny. It was 25 foot.
And they
They
came
had
limping
bigger
in,
things.
bailing out bucket by bucket, trying to not die.
Yeah, well, I was holding on to the compressor because that's why we were going, because the diving compressor had broken. It was the other kid who was bailing out 24/7, but I took my shirt off because it was pissing down with rain. It was cloud cover over, completely covered over. And I ended up getting like 3rd-degree burns all over my body. It's just blisters from sunburn, because it was warmer to take your shirt off than to have it on wet and windy and cold and all the rest of it. Anyway, I don't know how we got onto all this shit. We'll save that for another day.
Well, let's take a step back just a minute, Dom.
Okay.
How long you been awake? How long you been sort of waking up? I suppose is the best way to put that. What was the first thing that said, wait a minute, this daily grind thing that I see everybody else doing, something's wrong with that?
Well, I believe I think I've always had that feeling that something wasn't right. You know, that there was always a discontent. But I actually in 2015, I actually ran into problems with the federal government over taxes, and they pretty much wiped me clean. And one night I was sitting at my sister's house and figured how I was going to correct all the damage that they did, and I came across a video, and it was actually Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues. And I remember thinking to myself, like, with all the problems going on in my life, I said, there's idiots out there that believe in flat Earth. I said, you got to be kidding me. And I watched that video, and I think that from there on, it changed my entire life. I think I haven't stopped since then. But I think that was like the point where I think I realized that the world wasn't what it's been portrayed to be, and we've been lied
Like
to.
it made too much sense almost, right?
You know,
What he was saying.
it actually did. You know, I know a lot of people have problems with that video with him. I don't know. That was the video that just started it all, because I couldn't refute anything in it. You know, I looked for things to refute in it, and then every time I tried to, you know, disprove something or, you know, dispute it, there was really no like logical argument for it. And it didn't take me long after that. You know, it wasn't one of those things I had to battle with. It was just like, it just made so much sense. And from there on, it just seemed that everything I looked at after that, just there was some kind of deception going on. And I think it's just gotten worse. I think it's snowballed in the last few years. And the thing I found really odd, I just came from Flattoberfest in October, and the majority of the people that I talk to, it seems, and I don't know if it's just coincidence, and I don't know if I really even believe in coincidence anymore, but it seems like everybody woke up about that time. You know, the people that I were talking around 2015, you know, towards the end of 2015 was when was my moment. But the majority of the people I spoke to, it was like 2015, seemed to be the awakening, that moment where they were like, oh, something's not right.
And it was a big thing in your life that happened, right? Something had happened to you, like you said, the IRS had came after you, and you were just
My entire
kind
life
of
changed.
open. Yeah. I mean, mine was. I was watching Crow 777 videos, and I was seeing people talking about flat Earth, and I wouldn't. I couldn't click on it for months. You know, I just wouldn't. I was like, no, this is dumb. I was a NASA fanboy. I was at the NASA websites every day, checking satellites and all that nonsense. And then it hit me. Well, my dog passed away, and it changed my life. You know, we were real close. He was my first dog that was mine, that I got from a puppy and raised, and this and that, and he was poisoned. That's what really it wasn't like a gradual thing. It just all of a sudden kind of happened. But it did. It definitely changed my life. And I for some reason, I clicked on a flat Earth video. And like you said, you can't dispute it. The stuff that is said in a lot of these videos, especially back then, Mark Sargent, Jaron was doing it, even Matt Parland on the couch. You know, you couldn't dispute it. It made you want to look for more. Like, no, there's got to be something. I'll find it.
I remember laying there. I was like, "No, that can't be right. No, that's no." And then you would think about it, and you'd be like, "Wow, that makes a lot of sense." But no, it can't be right. But I remember Crow. Like I remember watching Crow pre 2015. I don't know if that was. I don't know if it was the Lunar Wave. I think the Lunar Wave was already filmed, and you know, he used to film the orbs and a lot of phenomena in the sky. And like, I mean, I believed in Narubu at one time. I thought in 2012, I thought Narubu was going to crash, or I was waiting. I wouldn't have been surprised if it happened. Yeah, I thought they weren't telling us about, you know, Planet X, and you know, there was a lot of things that I kind of felt weren't correct, but there was nothing I could actually, you know, put my finger on. I think the flat Earth was what I mean. Like, it's amazing what I want to. I don't think people explore why it's like I always says, why does it really matter? Why is it important? And I don't really, you know, you really can't tell somebody like the change that comes over you when you realize where you're at. I think it's very profound. It's life changing. You know, when you realize that you're someplace totally different than where you believed you were at.
It's like waking up from a dream almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I still have a disconnect from sitting around talking about it to going outside and experiencing it and having to remind myself that none of the shit that I see operates the way that I was ever told. Right? I can internalize it. I can mentally acknowledge it here. But sometimes when I'm out in the real world looking at the sun, I think there's still that baller mentality, that conditioning that is just so ingrained in me that I have to stop and remind myself that, nope, that's something that I have no idea what it is. And it doesn't set, right? The sun and the moon aren't setting. It's strange, but there's that strange disconnect where I can talk about it and take 2 steps outside and have to remind myself that shit, what I'm seeing is what I was just talking about. It's strange.
Yeah. I live about a mile from the beach, and my friend and I, we walked down there one day, and we're standing there, and I said to him, we're looking out at the ocean, and where I live in Long Beach, and you can see for miles in every direction. And I said, and he's very Italian. I said, where does this bend? I said, we're looking at the ocean. I said, where does it start to curve? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, if this is a ball, if we're living on a globe, this has to curve. He's like, oh yeah, but you just can't see it. And I'm like, but we can see for miles. Well, I said it curves after that, where we see. He goes, well, it must. It's like, but you believe it. And I understand how he believes. I mean, I understand what he believes. I think once you know, it's like, it's hard to understand how they still believe it. And like I really believed in 2015, once I came into like the whole community and woke up to so many different things. I figured it was going to be this almost snowball effect. I believe like within a couple of years, NASA would be gone. Everybody would realize where they're at. There'd be like this great maybe spiritual awakening. And it seems like people fight it. It's just, it's just that they just hold on to this paradigm and they just won't let go of it. And I don't understand. It just that's what boggles my mind now more than the whole deception that was perpetrated. I don't understand how so many other people don't see it at this point.
Cognitive dissonance is a real mental disease, in my opinion. There's mental disorders out there, and that's definitely one of them. When you learn facts that go against everything that you're taught, that you believe, that you know to be true, that isn't debatable, as some people would say, the shape of the earth. That's a hard pill to even attempt to put in your mouth, People shut down, does not compute.
I could go back to 8th grade. I remember in 8th grade actually talking to my science teacher in class about I couldn't get my mind around the rocket, how the rocket worked. He was telling us once they get into space, they can go forever. One push will go forever. I couldn't grasp how the rocket worked, and like he really couldn't explain it. He didn't. Like it was just. Finally, he says you just have to understand that it works. But I'm like, it works like a jet engine almost. It's has, and like there was a problem then, but for some reason, I guess I left that class believing that it could work. And as soon as I realized, that that was like, that was like one of the first things I like went back to. I was like, oh, the rocket thing. Well, now I know it didn't work. It can't work. And I knew it back then. And it was so easy. It was so easy to get my mind around it once I realized what was going on. My dog's trying to jump up into my lap. He's extremely jealous when I talk to anybody. He wants all my attention. That's the vibe.
That's awesome. Who are you talking to, Dad? Come on.
Oh, look at him.
No.
That is precious.
He's a big, handsome guy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody here is dog lovers. Yeah, well, yeah, I know. We all have them.
Everybody but Walt. But Walt's not here, so he doesn't count. I think
Walt would have a dog if he could.
I actually wanted to bring the Flattoberfest with me.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Actually,
I saw Nathan with his dog, and I was like, I should have. I kept calling home. I said, I should have brought my dog. He would have been great there.
Yeah, I think that one will be better.
Hey, Zach, I sent you a little quick message in Skype, by the way.
Okay.
And of course, they don't put this all in like where I can just click through, do they? Probably fucking not. Oh, sweet.
My system is playing silly buggers at the moment, hence why I'm a bit quiet. It's jittering. I don't know if you can even hear me, actually. But...
Nope.
Good. I think I've got too much shit open, as usual.
Right, so I think I do actually have these photos up and running now, Dom, if you want to
Okay.
talk us through this.
All right. Well, like I said, I didn't have a lot of room to grow, so I did a lot of grow walls. I used the pallets, and I used like all my available space. When right after I started, I have that's when I was that's when I saw the video on the magnetic water, and I figured, anything to give myself a boost. So what I did was, you can notice in a lot of these pictures, you'll see it's half the garden. I used regular rainwater. I watered my garden with regular rainwater, but half of the plants I watered with what I called my magnetically structured water, my living water, whatever you want to call it. And you can notice right away, if you see on the left side here, the left side of the picture, well, actually, the right would be the right side. That was I believe a cantaloupe vine, might be zucchini. I'm not really sure from here, but it actually grew almost 4 feet bigger within 1 month than the other plant on the other side, which is germinated at the same time. The only thing changed was, what I did with the water. And
Wow.
there's some really good fun. Like, I'm looking at the photos I sent you, and
Do they get about similar sun in that area?
well, yeah, like everything, like you'll see, like everything was right next to each other. Like everything was in the same area with the same sunlight, the same soil. Um, right after I did that, like I said, I was amazed at the results I was getting. I germinated more plants, and I germinated them right from the start using the magnetic water, the structured water. And I have a picture right here on my screen. I can't share it with you, but you have it. It's I don't know if you have 801. I don't know. I don't know how you're viewing it. It's like on the third. It's like the third or fourth row on my drive.
Hmm.
Those were like, okay, on this picture right here, the front half of the garden is actually the magnetically structured water, right? The plants in the front. I got this picture here. The plants right in the front are the beginning. They're eggplant, and then right behind it, celery, and then those are the tomatoes in the background, right? And you can see the tomato plants on the right side, towards the back. They were all germinated at the same time, and the only thing I did different between now they actually they all get the sun goes right over my garden from left to right, or from I'm sorry, from right to left. So they all get the same amount of sunlight, and the plants in the back were the ones that were treated with this magnetic water.
Wow, that is. They're like
mean,
at least twice the size, right? Some of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I glanced at these. I didn't want to really look too deeply into them until you were here to explain them. That's just wow.
Let's see if I can. You said 801 is the one I want to be looking for.
Let's see. Are the ones that you see are numbered? It's 14. I'm sorry, it's 14 14381. Right there. If you go back one, right there. Those were both germinated at the same time.
Yeah, just look at the size of the leaves. See that one on the left, the leaf sticking out to the left that looks shiny? Well, the other one is sticking to the right. Those are like your kind of like your identifier for that's the sprout that's going to keep growing up. Look how much bigger that one is on the left than the one on the right.
If you go back one more, I think we're on the same file right now.
Yeah, even the sun leaves are bigger, much bigger. Wow.
And actually, right there.
Jeez.
It's just, they were both planted at the same time, and they both did the same exact soil, And like I said, the one on the right of that picture was treated with like magnetic water, and the one on the left was just regular rainwater.
And it's not like it happens with these over here, but not so much. It seems like everything you did this to, there is a dramatic difference in the sizes.
After I used it on my garden, that's what I think. When I started, I was like this. I kept coming in. I tell my wife, I'm like, Casey, you got to see it. So she's like, okay, so they're growing. I'm like, no, they're not growing. They're like growing overnight. And she's like, she's like, you're being melodramatic. I'm like, no, Casey. It's like you can sit there and almost watch these things grow. They're like twice as big. And she didn't, for some reason, she didn't find it as amazing as I did. I think if you go back one more, there was you can see there's two in a pot. I believe I believe that was lettuce.
I'm looking. For some reason, OBS doesn't want to share my screen anymore. So you guys can see it. I just got to figure out how to get it back up for everybody else out there in YouTube world.
I can't believe those tomatoes too. Jeez, oh Pete. So can they see?
I think that's when I was this was just records. I was showing that they were both germinating at the same time. I kept pretty good photographic records of what I was doing, of their growth. There's actually
It is awesome. Just the fact that you had the idea to document it like you did.
Once it's
Well done.
I actually did it because I didn't think anybody was going to believe me. I was like,
I wouldn't have believed.
No one's going to believe that this happened
Without seeing the pictures saying they were twice as tall. I would have been, excited to see but I wouldn't have believed that those tomatoes would have been that drastically different. No way. That blows me away right there.
I planted a lot of flowers too because I was trying. It was kind of disheartening because there wasn't a lot of bees this year. I noticed that I didn't have a lot of bees in my area, and on one of the garden pictures, I planted marigolds. I planted a couple different things to try to attract bees. I had very few bees, so it was one of the things that taught me I started doing the hand pollination and trying to pollinate it myself. But it seemed like even the flowers that they were, again, like it could be my own perception, but I thought they were like more vibrant, that their colors were brighter. They just looked more, a lot of the marigolds looked fuller. I had one that almost grew into a bush. And I really don't know a lot about marigolds, but it was a huge marigold. I mean, I still have it in the greenhouse now. It's still alive, but it's like larger than any. I don't know how. I don't know enough about marigolds to say it's like a giant marigold, but it's definitely bigger than I thought it would get. And the colors of the colors of the flowers were just like they just seemed. I want to say more alive, more brilliant, bright, colorful.
That's amazing.
There's a basil in here, and I had two of them. And the one basil that was treated with the magnetic water actually almost turned into a bush. I gotta say, I still have this. This one's still alive, and it's just gigantic.
Yeah, I've had some luck. Did you trim it back at all, your basil?
Actually, I did it. I actually had I hate to say this. I know very little about gardening. I'm learning as I go.
Like you said, this is your first year. Yeah, I could show you some tricks to where you can make it a bush, like any plant, pretty much. You can turn them into bushes just by clipping them in a certain place at certain times. They'll split off and take that one branch, and it'll turn into two. You can take those two and turn it into four, and just keep multiplying it. Yeah, it's pretty neat. I think the creator set it up that way, so when animals came and bit off the tips of things, they would come back and there would be two of them in there the next time.
Well, I had a bit of a bug problem. I had a little, not a big bug problem. I had a little bit of bug. I noticed
Stink
that the
bugs.
no, more like what are they called? Well, I had a hornworm. I had a hornworm strip an entire tomato plant like
Yeah,
overnight.
they'll do
And
that. Did it like do a straight line at the top of it, straight across?
well, yeah, it actually left a stick there, and I was like, I came out there, the plant was just gone, and this huge caterpillar was there, and it was the hornworm, and it just pretty much just ate the thing from top to bottom, left nothing but a stem. But that plant actually grew back. I was pretty amazed. It actually did do very well eventually.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, how nature finds a way? Especially these plants, you think they're so resilient when you go to plant them, and they're real small and little, and you could crush them real easy. But even when you crush them, even like you said, it ate it down to the stalk. Even when you do that, these plants aren't dead. They are still going to try to grow and keep going. It takes a lot to kill a plant. You got to get down to the roots and actually destroy those, as well as just the top part. I mean, the top of a tree, especially this happens a lot with willow trees, because they're part of the salix family, and they have these rejuvenating chemicals in them more than other plant species. But you could take a willow tree, 6 inches in diameter, and if you stick that thing in the ground, if you cut off a big part of it, a big limb that's about 6 inches in diameter, and you stick that thing into ground that's wet and has water in it, it'll grow roots, and it'll be a new tree right there.
What I'm trying now, I took some of the trimmings, some of the stems from the basil, and I'm trying to replant it to grow, to see if it'll grow roots right
Yeah,
from.
cloning them. Yeah, you can actually make a cloning solution instead of buying that stuff from the
Right.
store powder they sell. You can make it out of rainwater. Your magnetic water rainwater would be great.
Okay.
And do you have willow trees that grow around New Jersey?
Yeah.
The weeping willows? Well, this
Yeah.
spring you can go and just ask them if you can take some clips off of them. When it's just starting to grow, the leaves aren't really long on it yet, but it'll be like a yellow looking bark thing that's real flimsy. You de-leaf it, take all the leaves off that new growth, and you cut it into about 1-inch strips, and you leave it in rainwater for about 3 weeks. Shake it up a little bit every day. Just stir it up a little bit.
Well, completely submerged.
Yeah, they'll get down in there. You can just leave them floating, but just kind of shake it up a little bit, and that will be better than any cloning solution you could buy at a store.
Really?
All those all those. That's what I was talking about. Any part of the Salix family species will do this, but they have 2 certain chemicals that they produce a lot of that other plants don't have as much of, but all plants have. And it's a root regrowth or root protection against bacteria and damage, and then a regrowth, something that helps them regrow real fast.
Okay.
But yeah, I've done that with certain plants, with cannabis. I was trying to get clones off cannabis that was really good, and it worked great with the willow water.
And what do you just do now? Would I take it and use it? Would I put the basil in it, or I would just use it in the soil?
I'd put like a pen size hole soil, and I'd put the stem down in there, and then I water it from the bottom. I always I'll put it in like a tray, and then I'll have the you know how most pots will have a hole in the bottom of them?
Right.
So I'll always keep the tray filled with about a 1/4 inch of water, of that rainwater with the willow water solution in it. And then it'll suck that water up from the bottom, and then the roots will grow down into your soil.
Well, I found that I like to do tray watering. I find that the plants grow like deeper roots they have their roots grow down quicker if you water from the bottom instead of watering from the top. So
I'm
that's
sorry.
basically this. Just I like to. I usually try to water my plants from the bottom.
Yeah, I always water from the
Oh,
bottom if I can. Yeah,
that's not what.
especially when they're young. Especially when they're young, because then the roots have to grow downward and get
Right.
bigger and longer. They have to, fight for that water. It's not just given to them there. Not so much fight, but they have to grow for it. They have to, and they tend to be stronger when you do that. But yeah, I always, especially when I'm starting off seeds and everything, I always water from the bottom, never from the top. Now I'll let it rain on them, and they'll get their water that way from the top. But when I give them water, it's always from the bottom.
All right,
Are
so
we,
I think we finally got these pictures up. If we went to,
okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I'm trying to get the file here for you, and I'm looking for it, and I thought it was this good. I don't use it enough to navigate it quickly. I was trying to I was trying to resend the link to the file. I saw my dog come up on screen, so I guess you have one of those files.
I do.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in the Zoom chat. The only way I can see what's being talked about is
How are you not
having the
seeing it?
YouTube open.
Yeah, I'm seeing the Zoom. It in Zoom.
Really?
Yeah, I'm seeing two
Yeah.
circles, two
Oh,
pots with two in the
no.
right one in the left.
Oh, well, that's a cute dog.
Are you on the right page in Zoom?
Yeah, although when my mouse hovers over Zoom, it's just going through a blue spinny thing, so something's gone tits up here. It needs...
The blue spinny
But,
thing of death.
I'm not trying to be rude. I just don't want to talk about anything I don't know about. Speaking of cannabis, I have found out yesterday that auto flowering weed is very different to photo, whatever it's called, weed. The stuff.
Very well put.
Yeah.
What's the difference that you've noticed or that you've heard about?
Well, you don't feed them. You you don't bend them. You don't top them. You don't film them. You give them longer light than I was giving them.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, obviously. My virtual grow. Yeah, I didn't know any of that about autos, but sorry, that's about as much as I can contribute to this at the moment.
Yeah, there's so much to learn about plants. I mean, I learn new stuff all the time. All the time I'm learning something. And I've been doing it for almost a decade now. And I read a book or something or reread a book and I'll learn something that I didn't pick up the first time.
But it's like I've always grown photosensitive plants, so I knew all about them. But
well, what's the difference?
They're the ones like John that don't like to have their pictures taken. They're
God
camera
must
shy.
know about this stuff, surely.
No, go ahead. I know this.
Autos are crossed with ruderalis, which is not governed by the light sensitivity. They flower when their genes tell them to flower. So it's
like
done...
when they hit a certain maturity date.
Yeah, exactly. So it's regardless of whether they're on 12/12 or 24-hour light or any of those sort of things. And yeah, I theoretically haven't grown them before. So it's a whole new thing to me. But they're awesome because...
Yeah, they sound low maintenance.
They're completely plant leaf. Just give it a bit of water every now and again. That's about it. But the reason why I went to them was no, I'm not going to get into this now. You guys carry on.
Well, I think anybody growing at least two plants of the same kind should try this and document it. The more people that do it, the more people will see that it works. And
Definitely.
this is huge. This is a game changer when it comes to making your own food. I mean, this is easy. This is simple, and I mean, look at the difference. It's insane.
It was very like there's somewhere in this file. There's a picture of the original one. The original. I don't want to sell like vortexer, magnetizer. I don't even really know what to call it. The contraption that I made right there. Well, that's one of the newest ones. It kind of streamlined it. The first one was made out of 2-liter bottles, but that's basically the whole setup. I had the funnel on the top that you pour the water through. That was the original one. And at the bottom of the bottle, I see which way the water's running in a clockwise. I think it runs clockwise to there. And I just lined the magnets up so the water actually ran through a field of magnets, through like double fields as it went down, and then it cycles through the stones at the bottom. And again, I really don't know the science behind it. I heard, I think John mentioned it earlier about the molecules breaking up, and it seems like such a it's hard, like it's water, so I can't really visualize like clumps of molecules sticking together in water. But that's what that's what I'm told. Running them over the rocks and making these little vortexes does.
That is absolutely fascinating. All right, I'm going to take a look at the other one. You go here? No. Let's just go here. And this is the one that's more streamlined. So
that's the one that I use for my water. And it's basically the same design, except I used glass. I used glass marbles in the bottom, and now it has actually it's glass marbles mixed with small N52 neo. I can never say it.
Neodymium.
Yeah, neodymium. Thank you. So it runs through the field, and as it vortexes through as it runs down through the marbles, it runs through additional magnetic fields. I figured the more magnets, the better.
I have something to change with you on your experiment on here doing it. Just I'm curious on it. Along with the neodymium, and you say you do it in different layers and that. I wonder what it would be like if you did some neodymium and some alnico, or just did natural lodestone and see what happened. And the reason I say that is in nature, magnets are, my voice is going, but in nature, lodestone is very, very codependent on temperature. Magnetics are like, the Curie point in that too, and with the electrics and the magnetics on it. But magnetite or lodestone, when it's cold, it's make sure I could get this one backwards because I'm dyslexic. One of the ones, it's an insulator when cold and a conductor when hot, or vice versa. But in other words, it switches on and off with temperature. But neodymiums are always insulators, and alnicos are always conductors. And so I'm wondering if like adding in like that property that happens with electricity would change it all. So like maybe a layer of alnicos and along with the neodymiums, it's just a fundamental difference in the way the magnets work. They're both magnetic, but they just have a different electronic function.
So do it totally make a whole nother one with different magnets,
right? Like maybe have a layer of neodymium and a layer of alnico, or see what the difference is between the two towers if it affects it differently, or maybe again try with lodestone. Natural magnets even would be interesting. That would be very interesting running it over natural magnets over leadstone. This is like fabulous. I'm just like
Yeah,
I'm
there's
looking with the
so
properties
much.
and wondering different things to see with it.
Well, I researched it a little bit, but after I was trying to figure out. It said like scientifically, it says that it like increases doesn't really increase it. It allows the soil to hold more um, uh, CO2. I think it was it produced more CO2 in the soil because of the magnetic properties of the water. I'm not really sure if that's I have no way to test
Maybe
that.
was it nitrogen? Maybe no.
Hold on. I have a page that I was looking at.
I know plants
And I
love
saved
nitrogen
it.
in the soil. Another little tip for you, Dom, for a young gardener. Um, I'll go through with like a 3-finger tiller. You know those little, it's got 3
Right,
little hooks on
the
it.
little
Yeah.
rake.
Yeah, and I'll just go through about 6 inches from the base and just break up like the top 5-6 inches of soil around every plant, at least 2 times a week. And what you're doing, you're aerating it. You're allowing air, the nitrogen in the air, to get down into the soil to the roots to where they can absorb it. A lot of people will take nitrogen pellets. You can buy those, and they'll just sit there and walk around their garden every day and just toss, some at each plant. But I like to get down in there and try to do it nature's way. But yeah, breaking up the soil around your plants allows the nitrogen in the air, that gas, to get down in there, and your plants really absorb that stuff, eat it.
Well, I found I had really good. I've been making grow boxes out of pallets, and I would I cut the pallets into a box, and then I use either burlap or like that weed cloth, and I put my soil in there. So I allowed it. So I guess I didn't do that intentionally. I did it actually for room, but I noticed that that allows a lot of oxygen to get into the soil.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've since those things came out, every like organic type place always go to, and I'll talk to the owner. They usually know a lot about their products and stuff. The small mom and pop shops, and yeah, they all say these are great. They love the fabric flower pots. They say even if you're not planning on putting it down into the ground, it's still, for just the reason you said, the air can get through, and they can get the get the nitrogen out of the air so much easier that way. But yeah, same concept. That's why I go through and do it the way I do it.
I pulled up this page, and it said magnetically treated water also increases the level of CO2 and H in soils compared to additional fertilizers. So, I mean, I found this afterwards. It also said that using magnetically structured water um, lowers the amount of water the plant actually needs. So I guess like I said, so there are people that are doing this. I don't think that I just don't think it's as widespread as it should be. Not enough people know about it yet.
No, I mean most of the stuff that really works is not promoted in any way, shape, or form. You know, I mean, look at how long it's taken for people to get over, what was it, uh, marijuana. What was it called? The paranoia from the Reefer Madness movies. I mean, you still talk to some of these baby boomers, and they think marijuana is the devil's drug. When we're finding out more and more that it's actually one of the best medicines that we know of.
I actually used I had basal cell carcinoma last year, and it got to the point where it was on the side of my head. It was about the size of a quarter, and they kept using biopsies on it, and they kept sending me to different doctors. And I finally got to a doctor that was supposed to remove it. And of course, he had to reschedule it because it got so bad that they were going to have to cut down into my head almost to my skull. As he said, he doesn't really know how deep it is. It's going to go into the muscle of my you know my my scalp. And
Oh,
at that point, yeah, well, at that point, I was like, yeah. So now they have to reschedule me for a surgery. So I go home and I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I said, there has to be another way. Well, I start researching it, and I actually, I want to cure it. I used CBD, colloidal silver, DMSO, distilled water, and within 4 months, it grew. It shrunk from the size of a quarter to about the size of a small fingernail and scabbed over. So 3 months later, I go back to the doctor. He's like, "Oh, it's looking good. What are you doing?" And I'm telling him, and he says, "Well, we got to take another biopsy." He's like, "Now it's small enough that he can cut it out." And he's wondering how how it shrunk so much. It didn't actually grow. So they take the biopsy, and it comes back that um, it's a negative biopsy. There's no cancer cells. They're not reading any cancer cells. So he comes in. He's like, "Well, we have a problem. I can't detect any. The biopsy didn't show any cancer cells." I said, "Well, that's not a problem. There's no cancer cells."
Yeah. Well, what do you mean we have a problem?
He said,
Aren't you a doctor?
so he's like, "Well, we've had 3 biopsies. They were all showing positive for basal cell carcinoma. Now we have another one that's like showing negative. There's no cancer present." And he's like, "Well, we'll have to take another biopsy." I'm like, "Well, no, you just took a biopsy. There's no cancer present. There's no." So he's like, "Well, what did you do?" And I said, I used, CBD, DMSO, colloidal silver, these, and he actually called me a liar. He didn't believe me. He's like, "No, that wouldn't work." I'm like, "Well, that's what I use." He's like, "There's no way that would work."
Wow.
Yeah.
Called you a liar.
Yeah. Basically called me a liar. Told me that's not what I did.
Well, that goes to show you what our doctors are actually being taught.
Mm-hmm.
They're not being taught how to fix people and cure people. They're taught how to hand out prescriptions and give out the poison. Wow, that is awesome that he didn't believe you.
I think it's more. Like I think I said the CBD. I think I gave it to my my dog had allergies. I have a bulldog, of course, and he was right after his first. I think it was his very first rabies shot. He started to develop. He started to itch and scratch, and he had really bad allergies. So now I started giving him the CBD, and he's ever since I gave it to him, he has no allergies. I started, mixing it with his food, and again, I don't know. But the correlation, I guess. I think it has. I think it has a lot of properties and a lot of benefits, and the doctors don't even want to explore it.
Well, no, it's something you can make yourself, That's old wisdom that hasn't been forgotten. It's just been totally avoided because they can't make money off of it. They've turned, which was once like a noble institution of healing, your fellow man, into how can we get rich off this scheme?
Well, that's the same thing with boron. I don't know if you familiar with boron at all?
I've heard some stuff about it.
All right,
Never tried anything.
All right, well, it's basically like I think they use it as a laundry detergent booster. I don't even believe it's a soap. And my mother, I started giving it to my mom years ago. My mom had very bad arthritis, and right now her like she has at one point her left hand was pretty much, I won't say a claw, but she had very little um, movement mobility in the hand. And I kept telling her, I said her the doctor would give her the pain pills, but they wouldn't give her anything that actually helped her get her the mobility back to her digits. So I started giving her the small doses of boron in water and in her coffee. I made her coffee with it, and her hand actually started to loosen up. And when I told her, yeah, when I told her, she's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I said, what I'm doing, I'm giving you boron. I'm just putting boron in everything. And she's like, what is that? And I told her, she didn't. It was actually helping her. And when I told her what it was, she didn't want to take it anymore.
Isn't that crazy?
Right?
Yeah. And that's disheartening. But I mean, I understand it at the same time. She may be thinking, this isn't what's doing it.
Or why is my son giving me soap? Oh.
Yeah. That's it. She goes, you're giving me laundry detergent. I'm like,
is this paybacks for me washing his mouth out? Or?
Yeah.
No, it is sad, and I'm paying very, very close attention to that because I have arthritis, and it's a rainy day, and I'm feeling it heavy today. So that's something I would like to try.
I saved that on one of my hard drives. I actually have the paper that I found years ago. I don't think you can find it anymore. It seems like it's been stripped from the internet. But it was
with so many things.
Yeah, it was a paper called The Boron Conspiracy, and that's where I found it. And I had terrible pain. I injured my shoulder. I used to lift years ago, and I tore something in my shoulder, and I always had problems like benching after that. And I started to research on how I could like lessen the pain without steroids or anything, chemically. And I came across this boron article, and it was like small dose. I remember, if I remember correctly, I was taking an eighth teaspoon. I was putting that in a liter of water, and then I would put like a tablespoon of that water into whatever water I was drinking. Well, within like 2 months, the pain in my shoulder like just disappeared. I was able to bench without any pain, and it really never. And that was the only thing I changed. So I figured, like, okay, maybe it's helping me. So then my mother's hands were terrible. I figured, let me try it on my mom. Since it didn't kill me, it didn't make me sick. And then my mother's hands started to get better. And then when I said to my mom, this is what I'm giving you. She's like, it's laundry detergent. You can't give me laundry detergent. That's going to end up killing me. I'm like, it's making your hands feel better. She's like, no, it's not. It's got to be something else. And
yeah, it's got to be something else. Boron is one of our elements. It's simple, it's pure, it's abundant in nature. And when you're looking at arthritis, you're looking at an autoimmunity. If they're not recognizing, I mean, I think they're starting to recognize it now, but it's your body going and destroying your own muscles, and that, and you get injured in the arthritis in it, and your body works on destroying instead of rebuilding it. So I'm guessing there's something in the boron that's giving your body some different triggers. So instead of masking like your allopathic medicine of just masking the pain and not dealing with it, perhaps it sounds like if she had mobility back, it's not only just the lack of pain, but it's the mobility back and starting to get motion. And you said you're able to lift again, and that obviously it was more than just masking the pain going on. It was rebuilding and letting things, letting the energy flow again.
I have a link. I have no way to send it to you. I'm on my phone right now.
Can you send it to Zach? I know that you've been sending things to Zach, and Zach happens to be in the same house as I am.
Check out 40 Mule Team. 40 Mule Team Borax is what I've got sitting in my house.
Is it 40 or is it 20? I thought I have it right here.
Oh, hell, I don't know.
I think it's 20. I think you added 20 mules to it.
Well, maybe his is heavier
You have
duty
the
than
extra-
yours.
he has the
Extra strength.
one, yeah.
Well, and that's because boron is so abundant in nature. That's how big a load it took to haul out to even turn a profit, was the 20 mules. It took a team of 20 mules to pull the load. That's how big the load was.
Was in order
Just-
to break even. That actually, that probably is exactly. That sounds right. A lot of things get their names that way. That's fascinating. Is that true? Because
No.
it sounds like it would be true.
I'm pretty sure that's true. Even though I didn't get the name right, I'm pretty sure the
And
backstory is
it
correct.
is. It is that.
It might be on the
abundant, so I
box
could
even.
see.
I'm gonna go grab my box.
That's so cool. I love little pieces of trivia like this.
That's where they got the name pulled in. I hear they scraped it right off the ground. I hear it's not even mined, from what I understand.
It's top level and it's easy, abundant, and soft. So it's not a. You would need a lot of it. You're right, to break even. It's that easy. Diamonds are expensive. When people talk about diamonds and them being expensive, and that their expense has to do like not with the rare. The rarity is one thing, but it's how much. Like over 4 tons of earth are moved around to find 1 carat's worth of diamonds. Not that carat's going to cut to like 30 points. That's not even a fine one, but you have to move around so much ground and destroy so much to get at it. And that really is a lot of the expense in the diamonds that people don't talk about is just, again, how much destruction it takes to find one little rock. Pretty way of putting it. While waiting for Josh to load, lock and load, let me know when you're ready.
Well, it's definitely not on the box, so I just got to figure out where the hell it is. I heard that. So what are you waiting on?
You?
For?
You gonna tell us where the mules story came from? How many mules
Oh.
it was? You were looking it up?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah.
I mean, I can go on to. I have a thought experiment with magnets, and that whenever you guys want to. I've been wanting to play with this one. I have a new thought experiment I haven't shared with anybody. So I was going to do a virgin magnetic thought experiment on the show tonight because we have another magnet person that looks at things all differently. Tell me with the magnets, you play with them and how they do water, and you play with them and you feel their energy against each other and that. And you're picking up the different fields. The one thing I've noticed about like magnets and people's understanding about magnets is they're taught about like the ferro action, the action it has on iron and other magnets where, again, it attracts and it's a strong attraction, and they're not, everything has got a permeability or reaction to fields, but we always think about the one that's like the most obvious, and that's the ferro. And we've talked about magnetic fields before, and the way that I see them in my mind is we'll break this up going into the thought experiment, try to make it easy. But I think part of it is we look at it, you have electromagnetism, and so we'll get a little bit more complicated, but we look at it and we think ferro and we think this sticky stuff, but in reality you have when breaking it down, you have different portions of the field. You have the ferro field, the ferro part, and that's how it reacts to iron and other metals and things that can become magnetized, and that it's that metal attraction, and that again is what we always think of, but it's not there. You have your dia that runs 90 degrees perpendicular up and down, and you have your para, which is a rotating field. But let's go back to the ferro, because the ferro is what we look at it, and it's the easiest to think about it and do that. We can visualize it. We can visualize it by dropping the filings on a piece of paper and seeing the magnetic pattern. It's a static pattern, and we know this pattern, and it's the pattern, unlike the other two, that's static. It's not in motion. It's pretty much the same, but we do know it's got a little bit of motion to it, right? And so when you look at your lead up to this is your declination map that we fly by, is pretty much would be a iron filings on a sheet. It's a declination map is no more than that ferro pattern, and it's picked up as that, and that's how we read magnetics, is that ferro pattern. So my question is we know that at airports and that it's pretty darn static. label all of our runways and everything accordingly to it. But we do know that it's a little bit in motion, and we know that we have to relabel several runways every year. The runways match up with the way the runway is pointed, magnetically on there. So we do have to rename some of our runways and things like that in travel. So my thought experiment, my question to it is if it's the ferromagnetic, what would cause that field to jar? Now you'd know a big earthquake and other things could, but what I was wondering is lightning strikes. When lightning hits the ground, it culminates the ferrous material and it culminates everything such that you have right where lightning strikes very culminated areas. And I was wondering if places that we had to relabel our airports constantly or more often, because there are areas that we do have to do that. I was wondering if these areas might have more lightning strikes in those regions and if there's any correlation. And so if we have any pilots or anybody that flies a lot or is familiar with that at all, I'd love to. It's just like a weird thought saying, I wonder if, again, heavy lightning strikes could shake your Faro pattern up just a little bit if you had enough of it. I know in Florida where it's, I know of one like airport I was looking at that really has to relabel a lot, happened to be like a lightning capital. And that was just, again, pieces of information running back and then me thinking now, could there be any connection? So any thoughts on this for a weird thought experiment?
That is really interesting.
Zach, I know you know what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about it for a minute.
I know a single strike might not, but what if you, again, with the lightning storms and that culminating event, could it be enough to just move it a little bit of a fraction or shake it up a little bit? Because again, what would cause your Faro pattern to go not static? We know that it's fairly static, but it's got a little bit of motion, and again, just something to think about.
I have a question. Like the magnetic north, and we're always told, like I guess the mainstream science is the magnetic pole, the North Pole, moves constantly. Is that I believe that's the current narrative, that it moves like so many feet. Is that actually true? Is there a way does it actually move, or because I find like so many things I'm told don't turn out to be true. So
okay. What they're measuring is they're measuring pressure mediation and the pressure on it. I mean, in the way I look at it, did anybody change this to screen sharing? Let me see if I can share a screen. I have to have permission to do that. So who's host?
You should have permission. Once I stop sharing.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. So this is our magnetic declination map, right? And what we were talking about earlier, do you guys see where my mouse goes or no? I don't know if you guys see my pointer.
Yes, we see it.
Oh, good. So what we're doing is, remember what we were talking about before the show when I said that when you look at our declination, you spread it out, what you show is I show a dipole here, 1, 2, 2 poles, correct? Izzy, are you playing with me?
Yeah.
Is he there? Okay.
I'll try to watch it on the computer.
Okay. So you have a pole here. Now here, see where you have your red and your blue going off here, red here and blue off here? They have to converge. There's magnetic patterns don't just end like this. They don't go off and end. It's a pattern. It's magnetics. So this red and this blue have to. If anything we know about magnetics, is it all true? Your red and your blue have got to come together at a point. So that's going to be where I'm saying the missing piece of land is between Africa and South America. Your red and your blue, you follow the green line in the pressure mediation, have got to your axis of evil come, and you could almost follow your axis of evil and around and find that you have to have land. You'd have to have land like we do here, a big piece of Antarctica to hold the magnetic pattern. Now, if you look at the center of the map, and this is where when people talk about ring magnets and that, when you look at our map on here, this is not the pattern of a ring magnet or a dipole. What you have is you have 4 poles here, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a quadrupole. Quadrupoles, this is old for people that have heard me before, but it never hurts to repeat. Quadrupoles, here's the ways we know they can be created. In science, it's very easy. You could take a bar magnet, lay positive, negative, another bar magnet, positive, negative, lay 2 bars here or in any configuration there. So you could lay 2 dipoles parallel and create it, correct? You could take 4 magnets and lay them up and down, one positive, negative, positive, negative. So you could face it in that direction and get this pattern. You could run coils and make a Helmholtz, or in this case, an anti-Helmholtz configuration by running the coils, and you would get a quadrupole. That's how they do it at CERN, is they do it through running, the electromagnets and the coiling and that. Ken Wheeler took note of, and I paid close attention to, that if you position 2 dipoles correctly, take a dipole here and a dipole here, if you hold them at just the right angle, a quadrupole, a phantom quadrupole, not by magnets, but a quadrupole pattern, your quadrupole and your magnetics, this exact pattern will show up. And I can show that to you, perhaps I will in a second. I have it on another screen. But your dipole has got to be here. Now, when you're talking about the pressure mediation and that of this area changing some and moving around some, if you have a dipole here, and that, you can see that your pressure, again, it can float around some. You're here. They also show it on the South Pole, but a lot of it is where the pressure is. And again, when looking at the magnetic model and like seeing, replicating, or like looking at and doing it, when you place a dipole here, again, you'll get actually a very strong hexagon magnetic outline. See if I can show something on. I'm going to try to find the pics again because I just closed them. But you'll actually get a definitely magnetically, it will create its own outline on it and its own doings on it. If you run electricity along the outer border of it, what will happen is it will serve as a degaussing line, and all compasses would have to point the opposite of north-south, which is what we call our North Pole. It would point to counter space in the center. And so looking at it as a quadrupole can really explain why all magnets would always have to point in that direction and why it would always be completely whacked up on another one. I'm going to let you talk a minute, Josh, because I don't know where my pictures went. Hold on. Maybe if I go up here and quit sharing a minute.
That's usually the best bet. When in doubt, just stop and reset it all.
Stop and reset it all.
Reset it all. I'm so excited for springtime to come.
I know.
I'm going to magnetize the shit out of my water.
I've been reading. I still have. I go through that book constantly. There's just so much. I just realized there's so much I need to. That I just don't know. On seeding, certain seeds and certain plants, and the plants I had problems with. I had the ones I had the problems with were the herbs. I had such problems growing some there was things I just couldn't get to grow at all. Things that would start and wouldn't grow, and it's just and then I would start reading the book, and I'd be like, oh, that's what I did wrong. That's what I did wrong. So
yeah, you could spend a lifetime trying to get it all down and still not, know everything. It's that diverse, just like, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom it's very diverse.
That's why it's best just to figure out the few plants that you're going to want to grow and be able to use.
Mm-hmm.
And specialize.
The ones you're going to eat.
Yep.
The problem with that is I always say there's always one more I want to. There was always one more I want to add. There's always one more I want to try to grow. I've been fascinated with the winter cabbage right now. I've been trying to grow. I have a couple that that I'm growing. I don't even want to eat them. They're so beautiful.
Yeah, I've had that problem, especially with strawberries. I don't know. There's just some so beautiful about a strawberry. When you grow one that's just perfect, it's like, oh, I don't want to eat you. You're just too perfect. Yeah, definitely. I know the
Okay,
feeling.
I found my pictures again. What you have up on the screen is Zach's handiwork, and you can see where he wrapped a couple dipoles with copper because we're playing some things and seeing. We also did it with 2 pillars on each side, and I've done a few different configurations. But what this is showing is 2 pillars, and you can see the poles in that created by him. But if you look at the center, you'll see that there's not a magnet there. This is looking at the under a ferro cell. So again, you're looking at that ferro pattern, no different than our declination patterns. And it's a static pattern on it. So again, with Zach, it would be like, what would make that pattern change? And that was my thought experiment earlier. But with this, this would be like your North Pole, your counter space. And I could see that there could be some motion as far as pressure mediation and which direction it goes. Wrong way. Hold on. This, like magnetically and working it out, you would have your dipole here, but your other dipole is going to have to be off of the map. When people are talking about your pentagrams and your hexagrams as far as sacred geometry and it's coming up, I am going to point out that right now, this area here is blocked up from us and we are on a pentagram. But if you open up this, where your land is, you're going to have a hexagram. So those doing the sacred geometry, I'm wondering again where a lot of the pentagrams and hexagrams pop into this too. These are patterns that are naturally created, the outline on it by the magnetics themselves. I'm just drawing it in pencil, but Zach has seen this. I've done it on a CRT and under a ferrocell, and watching Ken Wheeler's, you can do it. Your magnetic pattern actually, when you look out to the edges, it terminates in sacred geometry. It's remarkable. It surprised me, and yet the beauty of it, it shouldn't. You're always getting surprised by these things, but you shouldn't with how pretty it is. But this is where, when we're talking about the extra land, there has to be a huge, huge piece of land here in order to carry the magnetic patterns. You would also establish the patterns by land at the 4 quarters, which would be what I think are little pieces of Antarctica that you can travel to and have bases 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have the 4 corners, the 2 ends of the earth. This is the beginning, and this is the end, the east and the west on here. Here, historically, where this land is, this land between Africa and South America is in Homer. It's in a lot of different books documented. This is what they would call the westernmost edge of the world, where Atlas Island is. This is where Atlas, at the end of the War of the Titans, they destroyed, and they broke the sky. And this is where Atlas, he was on the losing end of it at the War of the Titans. He was tasked with holding up the sky at the edge of the world for eternity. That was his punishment. He never held up a globe. He never held up a sphere. It was the celestial sky who was tasked with holding up on edge. And if you follow history further, you'll see that Hercules built the 2 pillars to relieve Atlas of the duty of holding up the sky at the edge of the earth. This is where I believe when you see the Plomeron and the break in the dome, this is where the sky was broken in history. I mean, it's over our artwork, it's in our tarot cards, it's in all of the occult, it's in all of the esoterical, and it's all in our mythological history, pretty well written. But this would be where I would see the land.
Yeah, and I've seen bunches of maps, excuse me, especially that Martin has shared, that where the maps go way off into Antarctica and are like mapped. That the lands have names. You know,
Yes.
some, it looks like there's tropical trees on the shorelines of some of these places out there and stuff. It's crazy.
Zach, you talk about Martin Kenny?
Martin Liedtke.
Oh, Mark. Okay.
Martin Kenny, though, he's pretty brilliant too. All the cosmic egg model and all that kind of stuff.
You know, I actually, I was at a. I really like that model. I like as far. I like the way it's explained, and I think Mike Williams did a fantastic breakdown of it. He put he put it. He did it. He kind of condensed Martin Kenny's work all into like one like an hour seminar, which really I think it's a more condensed version of it. It's easier to explain to people. I've sent that video. I sent that video from that from Flattoberfest to a bunch of people so far.
So, what did you think about Flattoberfest? That was your first meetup, right?
That was all. It was awesome. I can't even explain. I can't put it into words that it was awesome being around. Just like I felt like it was my tribe. That's the only way I could put it. Like coming home to a family that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, I always say they're the family reunions that you want to go to.
I met so many great people there. I still talk to Jen Spencer from the girl that sings the Glowbuster song now, and I actually spent all day with her and found out at the very end of the night that she was the one that sung. She was the one that did the new Glowbuster song.
That's hilarious.
Cool.
It does show how humble a lot of these flat earthers are, though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was so nice meeting Jen Spengler there in person. I was hoping that they were gonna pull off. That was a lot to pull off, and we didn't have the microphones and we didn't have quite the setup to do it. But we were hoping she was gonna sing the Glowbuster song live. In fact, the guys were going to do the rap part, Austin and Bob, but it didn't. We didn't have the setup, and they were all a little bit nervous anyway. So I think it worked out. It was fun to think about, though. It was fun to like contemplate it. I want to see Bob up there rapping.
Well, that would be good.
I got to talk to Austin too, and I listened to him every week. Yeah, I listened to him on Jared, listened to him on Glowbusters. And it was funny because I was talking to him outside. He was talking to Jen and me and Nick. And at the end of the night, because he showed up late, somebody said, "That's Austin." I turned. I said, "Oh, that." I said, "I spent an hour talking to that guy. I didn't know that was Austin." I said, "I felt like an idiot."
No, he's so great. He's so fun to talk to. We had him stay at the house, and it was great because I got to like capture him in the sunroom, and then lock the doors where he couldn't escape and say, "Here, look at this, look at this." No, he was a captive. He was a great sport. He was wonderful. I really enjoyed talking to him. He had a lot talking back and a lot of things to add. He is one bright mind out there. We're lucky to have him.
There's so many minds like that out there too. That's what's so awesome about this group of people. It's amazing.
I was thinking when I was there, it's like any problem. If a problem arose, like that would be the group of people I would want to be with. It was. I think that anything that would have popped up, everybody would have. They would have gone at it in a way different than the people that I'm usually surrounded with. I think the people there are more proactive.
They're proactive. They're bright. They pay attention. a lot of amazing people give so much. Tommy, who's we're blessed to have in our chat, what he does, getting out one-on-one on people and doing his demos and that, everybody and what they bring to the table, it blows your mind every week when you look at and see ways people are doing to help, and the ones that say don't think they have the voice to help directly, they find ways to help us, and it all, again, it's so interconnected, and it's such a it's a neat community. It really is. Flattoberfest, I'll still have many dreams from that. That again, for one day, that was so amazing.
Did you catch a lot of the speakers, or did you spend a lot of time just chatting?
I caught every speaker. I thought I saw. I think my favorite one was if I have to say my favorite, Mike Williams did an awesome job. Bob, I like Bob's. I was kind of I was just amazed at how James True, how intense that was just like it was almost like he had there was just an intensity to him that was just incredible.
Yeah, he's an intense guy, and I've not even been in the same room as him, but the energy he exudes is palpable.
I'm looking at the chat right now, and LC King, I've been following. I'm fascinated by his work too.
Yeah, Lucas is something.
Yeah, Lucas and I are actually going to be having a chat tomorrow on my channel.
So it's going to be, that was my question. It's going to be on your channel. What time? Do you tell I want to be there?
It'll be 4 p.m. Eastern, so about an hour before, or 2 hours before we started the show tonight.
Well, perfect. I'm on Eastern time, so I can keep up with that. I can. It's going to be taking place here. You're hosting it, so not one I'd want to miss. I mean, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, we're going to dabble. Lucas was watching the show this morning, this early light, early darkness, if you'd rather. It wasn't light out yet.
Pre-dawn.
And yeah, he was, I think, getting my ideas of how electricity controlled this place and what their functions in this place and all the different. Yeah, I think he said he'd love to have a chat about it and just, dig in a little bit deeper. So yeah, it should be fun. I can't wait. It'll be my first time ever having anybody on my channel like that, live.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I know. You get to watch me mess this all up real good. My great computer skills.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see somebody else mess it up for a change. I get tired of being the one to mess it up all the time.
Well, you tune in and you will see me mess up. I can almost guarantee that. I mean, I do have a couple of computer experts in the house to fall back on, so it'll be a limited, interruptions here and there, I'm sure. But yeah, it's never out of a yell. Hey, Bob. Hey, Jaron, help. Yeah, it'll get settled real quick, I'm sure.
You guys saw me doing it. I did it on the air with trying to get onto this hangout today. My son was in here, Mom, how can you be on these things and not know how they work? I was like, thank you, baby. That's really helpful. Now just fix it.
Do your magic. Yeah, I just don't get computers. I don't know what it is. They're just not. I don't know what it is. The whole programming. I mean, I get how to use all this stuff, but the whole programming of how it all works and everything. And once I start getting into that stuff, and then having to, just all this stuff. Nah, not for me.
You know what's funny, Zach, and Bob will attest to this because his old boss was constantly trying to hire me. But the funny thing is I used to be very, very computer literate. I could build a computer, I could take it apart, I could network, I could do I could pretty much do it all. And that was, again, people ask how did you meet Bob, and how I met Bob was in the opposite. We got up to 26 people, and I was the only one that, like, anytime anybody had a computer problem, it was Cammy this, Cammy that. And I was doing I was doing so many things on top of it. It just got to be, I needed help, and I needed competent help, somebody that could just come in and take care of a problem. And that's how I met Bob, is the first person they sent me, I yelled back that I wasn't going to pay money to train their employees. Send me somebody that's good. And they sent me Bob, and he wasn't. He was really, really good. Once I met Bob and I saw that, like, he was really, really good, I somehow over the years got stupid that instead of even thinking anything through, I automatically say, Bob, can you fix this? So I've lost all of over the last 20 years. I used to, were like, his boss used to come in and try to hire me out of the jewelry store because he thought it was so cool to have a girl that could, like, get under a computer and do the cabling and stuff like that. And so I used to have all the skills, and you don't use them, you lose them. Now I can't go near one without it wanting to blow up. So I am a perfect what can happen again if you don't use skills. And if you haven't, I think a big key to that is just when you're the best around, everybody goes to you. So if you have somebody that's better than you around, all of a sudden you're obsolete and you don't need it no more. All right, who was that? Which one of our boys was that? Dom?
I'm here.
Was that you?
What?
Oh, you belong here.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix my camera. I'm losing that.
Yeah.
I hope Walt is having a good time. Big shout out to Shell. It's her birthday tonight. He's showing her a night out on the town.
He popped in the chat earlier and said that he might pop on the show, that he was in the car they were driving, and he might try to pop on a little bit later. But he couldn't connect there because he was in the car. So I hope they are. I hope he's paying attention to her and not. Well, he wasn't. He wasn't looking at the chat. But hope to see him here. But I hope they have a great, great birthday time for her.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For all the time she lets us have Walt. She deserves it just for that.
Yeah, I guess we can pay it backwards every once in a while.
Sure, Walt, a little bit. Not much, but just a little. It's your birthday.
So yeah, what are your plans for this spring, Dom? What are you going to grow?
Well, actually, that's what I got the greenhouse going, and I'm going to start germinating. I want to start germinating right after. I want to try to get a whole month or two in, like get the growing season in like a month or two early. I'm not sure if that's actually going to work. I still have tomatoes going. I still have eggplant, celery. These are things that are all going right now, and carrots, onions.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm gonna add to that.
Yeah, a lot of the rooted plants, they can make it. You know, they can take a little bit of cold and this and that. They're built for that. I know a organic farmer up in northern Indiana. He had strawberries till like the beginning of December, right around this time. And there was like 5 or 6 weeks, something like that, where he wouldn't get enough sunlight to really produce a bunch. I mean, they wouldn't die, of course. Strawberries live through the winter regardless. But he would just stop. I mean, he pretty much made a living off strawberries. He got them to grow so big and people just gobble up that organic when they see that organic with the strawberries like that. But yeah, you can get certain plant and his tomato plants, like you said, they are still going. He would have them going way longer than anybody else around. He had a big, huge Quonset hut though. It was like 80, 90 feet long and 15 feet wide, one of those like half cylinders. And it was the double plastic to where you could fill it with air in between, so there'd be no heat transfer in the wintertime. All the heat would stay on the inside. Or you could make it a vacuum or something. They're real expensive. I think he paid like eight grand for it.
The problem with the grid, it's trying to get everything to grow in such a small area. I think because everything needs different amounts of, everything needs different amounts of water, different amounts of sunlight, different amounts of, ventilation. You got to keep the heat right. But right now I have, I started about 2 months ago. I started blue dwarf kale, which is doing very good. Bok choy is doing very good right now. The strawberry spinach is growing, but not as I expected or liked it to. What else I got going? The winter cabbage is doing very good.
Yeah, and
You're
a lot of
making me
these,
want to cook.
like winter snow peas. Even if you don't like those to eat,
Right.
they're a good thing to grow in the wintertime when other things might not grow and you do have extra space. And you can just take those and till them into your soil. The whole plants, break them all up, till them into your soil, and they have a lot of nitrogen in them that they hold. And you can add that nitrogen. A lot of farmers will do that. Even with the Chinese winter cabbage, they'll grow them over here. There's a a Korean farmer that I knew back in Indiana, and he would do that. He would plant these just rows and rows and rows, and they would grow huge. They would be like 2.5 feet down into the earth.
Really?
Like a good 4 or 5. The bigger ones, 6 inches across in diameter. Just these big, huge looking. But he wouldn't eat them. He would just take his tiller the next year and and it smelled horrible for the next couple of days after he would till it under. But it added a lot of nutrients back into the soil.
Huh. Can you like the sunlight's a problem? Is it like I've been looking into grow lights? I want to put grow lights in there just to add sunlight, but I'm not really sure if that's gonna help me any, add like if it's actually gonna substitute light. It's not gonna substitute natural light, but will give the plants what it needs to grow.
Yeah, sunlight has a lot to do with it. Like when the sunlight, it's really the changing of the amount of sunlight that does it. A lot of plants their grow stage will be as long as the light is, either the same or increasing. And then you hit that solstice and the days start getting a little bit shorter. The plants know that. And so they go into bloom where they start flowering and getting all their fruits so they can produce seeds and then carry on their lines. So, yeah, I've tried starting things like down in Greenbelt.
Right.
We grew some stuff I grew stuff with A. McKenzie. And certain things, it didn't really matter what time of year it was, your lettuces, stuff like that. They didn't mind it so much. But other plants where it took a long time and you were getting the fruit, pretty much eating the flower of the plant, the fruit of the plant. You needed it to have that time and that cycle change of light for it to mature and go through its stages. So yeah, it's kind of about knowing your plants. Like your carrots you'd get away with, your beets, your radish, stuff like that that's down in the ground mostly, and they they go through their cycle a lot quicker. Like your lettuces, you can start harvesting in a month, you know. So where your tomatoes, it takes at least, what is it, 45 days for it to become mature or longer. I forget exactly. Corn is even longer, you know, that's why you can only have one thing of corn a year in a plot. You can't plant corn and then go plant it again in the midsummer and grow it again. That just doesn't work.
I had terrible luck with the corn. The corn I didn't do well with at all.
No, yeah, that's one of those that it needs a real long cycle, and the plant knows when the sun's going away, so it's going to try to get into that bloom stage. It doesn't get the time to grow as much as it needs to grow. But like John was saying earlier about certain cannabis strands and plants like that, some they don't care about the sunlight. It's just a matter of time. Where other ones that sunlight kind of kicks these into happening. You can start the process earlier when you're growing them indoors with controlled lights.
Is it possible to trick them? Like if I started them indoors and just increase the light, like at grow lights and increase the light, you know, gradually early in like in late winter before spring, could I could I
Well,
actually
you wouldn't even have to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that's
Can
what I
you
was just
trigger?
could I trigger the growth in them, like, you know?
Well, yeah, you can get them to start growing as long as when you move them outside to the sunlight isn't less all of a sudden. Actually, it would be less just for that day, and then it would start getting longer again. So it might stunt them a little bit, which usually transplanting does anyway. But that that might do it a little bit, but I don't think it would hurt them. Yeah, I think you'd get away really well with, you know, giving it a nice good amount of sunlight or indoor grow light per se before the sun actually catches up.
Now what's the, like, I was looking at the grow lights. They talk about the different spectrums of light, and some are full spectrum and some aren't, but they're still considered grow lights. Now, I think a lot of them deal with cannabis. I think a lot of them are tuned towards or geared towards cannabis. Does that matter with like the vegetable plants? I mean, does that?
See, I'm not 100% sure. I've never really grown indoors like a vegetable plant with a light. Usually I'll put them in a south facing window and just do it naturally with the sunlight before I put them outdoors. Now I have grown like a Venus flytrap indoors. Um, what else? I've kept a pepper plant alive for 3 years. And what I would do in the wintertime, I had it in a pot and I would bring it inside and I would just give it 12 hours of light regardless. Just as soon as it started, you know, getting a little bit chillier outside, I would bring it in. A lot of the leaves would fall off. It would start growing new leaves. And then it was kind of just in a constant grow stage. I'd leave it at 12 hours. And then when I put it outside when summer came around again, or, you know, later spring, it would just take off. And I was getting crazy amounts of peppers the last 2 years. It just kept increasing with the amount of peppers that it would produce. I even had little bits of bark at the bottom of this pepper plant. And then my grow light broke.
You know, it's funny you mentioned it. It's like I think most of my garden plants, I just didn't want to see die. It's one of the reasons that I think that's what motivated me to build the greenhouse. There is like, so, you know, it's like I'm like trying to keep them alive no matter what. And it's almost like I don't know, a bond. It's like I feel responsible for them. I don't want. It's just like I do everything I can to keep them, you know, flourishing.
Yeah, safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it hurts. It does. Like when you go to cut them down or even just pick the fruit. I do. I feel sorry. Like I feel a lot more thankful and grateful for that food. you know, and I think those plants know that because you're sorry for hurting them. It's like, oh, buddy, I'm gonna get some of these right here, okay? But yeah, they know that and they feel it, I think, and your plants will respond. They will do better when you emotionally connect with them like that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been all kinds of scientific studies. Plants know when you're around. They know when you're focusing on them. They change inside, you know. They don't move, they don't wave at you. Hey, how's it going? They're different, but they do feel.
We were driving home the one day. Somebody threw a majestic palm. I live like the area I live in is almost has a lot of summer homes. So a lot of the people they're here. This it's like empty during the winter time, and you could see like they rip up entire gardens. They just throw out, and somebody threw out a majestic palm, and it was pretty beat up. It got hit by a car. It was all dry. They really didn't take care of it, and I said, stop, stop. And I went and grabbed it, put it in the car. And my buddy said, he goes, that thing's dead. I said, no, it's not dead yet. It's still a little green. Well, Zach, you should see it today. It's sitting in the front of my house. It's it's beautiful. It came back to life. It's been growing. I put it in another pot. The palm grows from the middle. And it looks like it's almost like spikes come up from the middle, and these spikes unfold into the leaves, and all the leaves basically that were dead on, look, I'm standing in front of it now, all the leaves that were pretty much dead are gone, and it bloomed into this beautiful plant. And I think it's all just because I took care of it, because it knew that, there was somebody taking care of it again, and wanting it to grow. And
Yeah,
here it
just
is.
because they, even if it's just the roots, no green left on it, it doesn't mean that it's dead. I brought a couple house plants back from what I thought was dead. I was like, I'm just going to start watering them. I'll do it for, a couple weeks. Just go and drop some water in there every couple days, see what happens. And they were plants from this lady's her husband's funeral. They were important to her, and she couldn't get up and take care of them anymore, and her kids didn't water them or anything. And I just started one. She had like 4 different ones from his funeral, and I just started adding water to them, and every single one of them took off and grew, and they were beautiful. And like you said, yeah, they can look totally dead, just little sticks sticking out of the ground. You would think that it was dead. Nope. You start giving it water and that little bit of love, and they flourish. Yeah, one was a Japanese peace lily. And I even went through its whole cycle where I got to see it produce the flower. It doesn't produce the flower every year. It's one of those that does it every so often. But yeah, just because plants, you know, look like they can't get healthy again, just like a human beings can look really bad, really get into really bad shape, and then turn it all around with a little bit of positivity, especially with a little bit of love from others.
I
You
think
know,
that's the more important part. I think a lot of it comes from your emotional connection to others. You see, a lot of these people that they wither away because they're cut off from other people, and just being back with people that care about them does wonders, more than medicine ever can.
yeah, I think that's what's such a big part about this community is the positivity, that so many of these great people bring. It's medicine. It really is. It's medicine for your soul, just being in the chats and conversing with all these people. Um, yeah, nature's a great medicine, but bonding with others is one of those others that is just a great, there's no replacement. There's no pill you can take that's going to replace that. And I think that's one of the reasons they're trying to stop that human connection at all. Gatherings and, hugging and,
I
sharing
think
all this. electricity together.
Oh, the face thing drives me. The mask, the face thing drives me nuts. I just, it's like I'm talking to somebody, and I do well face to face with people, but they've actually taken that away, in person. You talk to somebody and you can only see their eyes. You can't see the micro expressions on their face. I think that's almost 90% of communication. There is what people show on their face, and I think it's horrible they removed it.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been showing this isn't the first time they've tried to do this or they've done this. I was looking at baseball players during the influenza of the Spanish flu of 1917, and pro baseball players were out there playing with masks on.
I saw those pictures. I was wondering how many of those pictures were doctored. I seen, I'm wondering, the validity of a lot of them. Was they, is it turning out to be true that was actually happening?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, because it was like the mask suddenly popped. Like I didn't see up until now. I never saw masks. Like it wasn't. When it happened, I didn't think it was gonna take off like it did, and now we're seeing pictures of the past with people wearing masks, pictures that I've never seen before. So, I'm wondering if they were at it later, doctored.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they have certain plays in their playbook.
That just repeat.
Yeah, once the public forgets about it completely, we can do it again. Once all those people that were alive then are pretty much gone, or people don't listen to a word they say anymore, yeah, we can do it again. These people have no clue that we did that.
They don't have much.
Not until then do people even go and look for those pictures.
Yeah, I agree. I think they thought it worked well the first time, and why not? It's a good insight, Zach.
It does seem like just a reoccurring theme over. It doesn't like they have much imagination for anything new. I don't know if they don't try anything new, or they're just used to they're just stuck on these methods. They believe these methods work, so they're just going to repeat them.
Well, yeah, I think it's a big plan that they have. It is a big, Albert Pike wrote it in a book, Morals and Dogmas, quite a while ago, about the 3 world wars. 2 of them have happened. There's still 1 to go. And I don't know, it's crazy how these people, somehow are brought into these fraternal orders, and there's plans that have been going on since before their grandfather was born, and they join and they still are carrying out this same plan no matter what. I don't know.
If you like, we mentioned Albert Pike with that 3rd World War, if I'm correct, is that more civil, like on a more of a dividing of the people than a national one?
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be a war between the Christians and the Muslims.
Okay.
That was supposed to be the war to end all wars.
And that was the last one.
Yeah. I mean, they could have made revisions.
I don't know if I see that one happen. I mean, there's a lot of turmoil here right now. I could see something developing here very easily.
Well, I'm not exactly sure if he said it was between the Christians and the Muslims. I believe he said it would be a spiritual war, which is real interesting because you have your the cult of the globe that pretty much goes against every other major religion in the whole creation story and just the shape of the earth in general.
It definitely is a polarizing subject.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he was talking about. I don't know.
So what do you see happening? What do you see happening in the next few months?
I don't know. I see it pretty much being same old song and dance. It doesn't matter who's going to be president. They're going to try and push the mask, I think. They're going to go ahead with passing out vaccines to everybody who wants to line up to get one for free. I'm not sure what'll take place about it after that. I mean, from the get-go, though, a year ago, you can go back and listen to the show. I said this was all about vaccines, getting everybody a vaccine.
It was official in the news today that they're discussing the offering $1,500 per person to get their vaccine incentive tied to the COVID, the checks they're sending out. Now they're saying that they want to tie the stimulus with the getting on the vaccine because that way they can, knock out two stones more efficiently.
That's it. I was just talking to my friend about that, and I work with a lot of people that aren't conspiracy minded, that are just regular people, and he I think he said that 48% of, by some poll, 48% of the people are against vaccines. But when I talk to people, I can find in my entire job, there's maybe one or two that are actually even willing to take it. Most of them are like, there's no way I'm taking a vaccine. Not something they create. Not that they're against vaccines. What they're skeptical about is that it was created in 1 year. They don't have the whole mindset that vaccines, of course, they believe vaccines could actually be helpful, but they're more concerned with the speed that it was developed. So I'm personally skeptical of all these polls, because in my life I've met 80%, 90% that say they wouldn't take it, right? And now they're going to tie it to the money. They want to tie it to the new stimulus. They want to tie it to all the social benefits, welfare, food stamps. That's what they wanted to do. They were proposing to do that. And I'm watching. I went to get my car registered today, and they're making it so difficult to do anything that most people will eventually give in. I think may give in, just to get things back to the way they think.
But it won't go back there, and that's what they're.
Yeah, that's
it's all part of that.
Yeah, and that's the worst part about it. It'll never be the same again. Nothing's going back to the way it was. And I don't believe people believe that. I believe they think that when this is over, I hear people say all the time, well, when this is over, when things get back to normal. And I don't want to be one of those guys that are like, well, things are never going to get better. They're never going back to the way they were.
Well, I don't think they will ever go back to the way they were. They're either I hate being the doomsday guy, but I think they're going to have to get worse before they start to get better. There's going to have to be a breaking point with a lot of these people to where they're going to say, okay, these people are just fucking insane. We're not listening to a word they say anymore. There's going to be, it may get violent. It just might. But before it really actually getting better, I mean, going back to the way it was, it's better than it is now, but it's not. It's not good.
Right.
So no, before it starts actually getting better, actually better, no, I believe there's going to be a large moment that will take that's going to happen, whether it be a 2-year thing, a 2-week thing, or a 2-decade thing. Something big is going to happen and take place, and it's not going to be fun for anybody involved.
I think I don't know about, I can't speak for everybody. I've always felt like there was that something coming, there's something I'm waiting for, something that's bound to happen or supposed to happen. And it was interesting because I was listening to a podcast and about a week ago, and they were talking about the lockdowns in California. And I don't know if he said it ended on the 21st or it was suspended for the 21st. It was just, I know it struck a bell because the 21st, I believe, is the solstice. I just found it odd that they lifted they were gonna keep everybody locked down until that day.
And that will be the day that Jupiter and Saturn will be within 0.1 degree of each other.
The Christmas
closest
star.
they've been in a long time. Yeah, we were talking about that today.
Uh-huh. The ones that the Magi were following to find the Christ baby.
Now, you guys were making me think of one of my husband's favorite sayings, which is, it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to such a profoundly sick society. And so the back to normal, again, we can't, the society is sick. Little things, I know that I'm on a panel with guys, but one of the things I peek at for amusement to see what people, consider what their problems are is I read the little advice columns and the things in the newspaper. It used to be Dear Abby, now there's Dear Abby and there's Dear Prudy. And again, this is like mainstream spin and what it's feeding people out here. But like the other morning, I read this story and it was horrifying. It was like, Dear Prudy, my well-educated daughter-in-law showed my son like these articles about these totally, like, they browsed the internet about vaccines and now, and they refuse to get their kids vaccinated. Now, they're very well educated and they're very reasonable in all other aspects, but this is driving me crazy because these kids could, get sick and die and these parents are neglectful. So my question is, they're going on a trip and I'm taking care of their kids for 5 days. Is it right to go and get them vaccinated while they're gone? Should I do this? Now, what do you guys think as a panel member? You're an advice columnist. What do you think the right answer should be?
What do I think the right answer should be, or what do I suspect this broad advice that was given?
Well, the advice that was given was like actually surprising. She started off with, unfortunately, they won't let you do that. And that's how it was approached with, unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
they won't let you do that. I wish you could, but they won't let you. And then she goes on to say that what you can do instead of that is go after that these people are crazy and they believe this and it's not fair to the poor children, but go after your state legislature and that and try to close up all of the holes in the laws where the vaccines where you can get religious or philosophical exemptions. That way these crazy parents won't have this decision to make. And it's like, wow. But this is how it was spun in mainstream is like, I know it's frustrating. These people are crazy and I wish you could do it. Unfortunately, you can't. And it's like, really? You're talking about taking somebody else's kids and putting, I'm sorry. It was just even to consider that if it was allowed, it could be the right thing to do. It's whack. It's whack.
Yeah, it's a good thing I don't have an advice column. I would have torn that person a new spot to get a vaccine.
Then that's why you don't have a column.
Yeah, maybe we should make
in a major, news outlet. They don't let people like you speak, Josh.
I think that's great. You take those kids and have them vaccinated against their parents' will. Then you swing by here. Never mind, I'm about to get old Jonathan from Jersey on you. Maybe I'll just stop while I'm ahead.
I think Cammy made it. It's the society itself that's damaged. It's just like that people would even consider this. That's the problem there. You know, I'm
It's
50.
whack, right? It's totally crazy.
It's like I don't even know what to say that. Like if I had a child and like my friend wanted to take the child to the doctor when I was gone. I mean, it's just like I can't even fathom the mindset that person has. I couldn't imagine taking another child without their parents knowing it to anything that they didn't
Against not only without them knowing it, but doing it to completely subvert.
Right.
And intentionally, because the parents are against it. So this is, I mean, that's even that a professional could write back that, yeah, unfortunately, you're not allowed to is
Horrible.
Whack.
Yeah.
I can't.
You could add that to you could put that to any you could like telling the child that there is no God since they're religious parents. I mean, there's so many things wrong with that whole that whole scenario that you could apply to almost everything else, and that people would even consider it. That's the problem. That you have people like that. It's okay to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a social problem. It's become
really, yeah.
We're all in this together, right?
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that their new slogan?
Well,
We're all in this together.
And it's my responsibility to keep you healthy. Your health is no longer your responsibility. It's my responsibility.
Where were they all in this together back in 2008 when they decided that 5 banks were too big to fail? Where was they could have given every single U.S. citizen, children included, $45,000 with the money they gave those 5 banks. And I bet that would have helped pay off a lot of house debt and student loans and all kinds of stuff that all of us that are in this together could have really used. But now all of a sudden when they want to shoot everybody with poison, now we're all in this together? No, I ain't buying that.
Well, that's a really good point, Dom. Yet your health is no longer your responsibility. Now it's my responsibility to keep you healthy. But it's not as though my health is no longer anyone's responsibility. Now it's the government's job to keep me healthy and tell me how to live so that I might better keep everyone else healthy as well. So it's a weird shifting of responsibility and liability here.
Well, it's the same thing with the mask. They played the mask. First the mask was to keep you safe, right? Then it was the mask was to keep other people safe, right? And now it's just they keep shifting it. Like when I'll ask somebody, well, why are you wearing the mask? They don't really have, it's like, well, you need to wear. They've shifted it so much. It's now you need the mask to keep me safe, but it's your responsibility to keep, or it's my responsibility to keep you safe. But if you don't have the mask on, it's just like they don't even know. It's so convoluted now. But they believe that it's the response. It's a social issue now. It's like by somebody wearing a mask, they're doing their part for society. It's not even about their health. Yeah, it's just the whole thing makes no logical sense, yet somehow they've convinced themselves that it does.
Yeah, it's not it has nothing to do with health. It's what's the word? The phrase being proper,
right.
Socially
politically correct.
Politically correct. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, that's politically correct to do this.
It's easy. I think one of the best videos I saw, it ended with, it's easier to wear the mask and show that I'm virtuous than actually be virtuous.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Globebusters in chat, Bob here, saying that the government wants to kill us all. And I've heard it said, and I think I've even said something similar. I mean,
but I think it has to be our choice.
We're all going to die.
Shoot us with a gun.
We're all dying. None of us are going to outlive the government. It's not like if we don't have government, we get to live. And it's not as though
left behind for our
Sorry,
children.
they're not specifically shortening in a significant way lifespans. They're just making the lifespan that we live miserable.
Yeah, full of fear and anxiety and doubt.
I mean, sure, they want some people to die, no doubt. But that helps perpetuate their authority. If they can get a few 100,000 people dead on their word, then there you go.
If they have a accidental side effect of fertility issues from the vaccine, just think they can.
And that's
change
my
the
guess.
That's my guess too.
If I had to guess anything, it's just going to be a long term. This is a long game. The long con here is that it's all just going to be a big depopulation ploy by way of infertility.
Well, Bill Gates said that he wanted to achieve population control via vaccine. And they did create vaccine and healthcare, and he said that, and then they showed that they can now do birth control via calling birth control a vaccine. You get to bypass all of the other rules and lawsuits and other fun things that other drugs have to stand up to just by marketing it under the name vaccine instead of like birth control. It's now, it all of a sudden gets a whole set of special rules and is exempt from, again, the lawsuits and completely protected just like that.
Yeah, I figured that I don't want to be a drain. There's a lot of children that are getting injured due to vaccines, and they can't really hold doctors liable for whatever reason. I guess not just blanket liability. So they get paid out through this victim compensation fund, vaccine victim. It's something like that. I don't know. But I think that the children are more deserving of it than I am, should I be forced to take a vaccine. So if I'm ever offered one, I want to be sure that either the doctor is willing to stand behind the vaccine or the pharmaceutical company, or both, actually, would probably be a good idea, to the veracity of their claims and the safety of this vaccine by going ahead and accepting any and all liability associated with me taking this. That way, I know for sure that they're confident in its ability to do what they say it can do, and I won't be a drain on the compensation fund for the younger victims. That way, if anything should happen, it'll just come straight from them, but it's also their way of giving their stamp of approval, their personal stamp of approval, by saying, yep, I accept all liability that should arise by the taking of this vaccine. And then we'll just see how many want to keep pushing vaccines on me.
They haven't made it any. They haven't made it a secret. I mean, I've actually seen mainstream articles, telling the public that vaccine companies are exempt from any liability. I mean, that right there should trigger a red flag.
And even the questioning, they even mentioned that vaccines are linked to autism.
No, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to say that anymore, Zach. But
not anymore. But at one
time,
time, people were saying that in the news.
Well, of course, people were saying that because it was reality. But they had to quash reality. But yeah, that red flag should be up there, just like that red flag should be like high up and soaring whenever you see like the idea of, we'll give you $1,500 to take the vaccine, because that is in the newspapers today. Is they have a figure on it? It's $1,500. They're talking about the stimulus being a $1,500 stimulus for each person, that it would be based on them taking the vaccine, tying it together. That right there should be, again, the red flag should be up the ass, that the pharmaceutical companies, again, vaccines hold, there is no liability, and that they're paying you $1,500 to take it. If I don't know how bigger red flags you can get. I mean, these is there a bigger like thing than a red flag? I'm a blowtorch, a flare, signal flares, a something,
A burning
giant
flash.
laser. Yeah, it's like, what more do you want?
You know, you would think that if it was that necessary, if it was that dangerous, you wouldn't have to offer money to people to take it. That's what actually gives me a little hope that there's more people, not want, that aren't real keen about the whole vaccines, that they're actually considering offering people money to take it.
Well,
Because
what about in the plan is if they wanted to break and take people out of work and drain our economy and make it so everybody feels really broke and then offer here. I mean, doesn't it seem funny how they're taking everybody down and putting everybody in such the straits before offering $1,500 to take it?
I believe.
I mean, they created the problem that people really need that extra 1,500 more than they would have before this all happened.
I agree. I agree that's exactly what they're doing. I was telling Zach this, just before the show started, with the whole car thing. They just, they're making it so difficult to do anything, anything that was, part that you actually need to do, part of a normal life. And, people are going to get to the point. People aren't built for strife and for chaos. I said to my buddy, I said, the average person is, nowadays is built for, texting and watching television and, going to their 8-hour job. Most people don't want any adversity or conflict or any kind of disorder in their life, and they'll do mostly they'll go along with anything just to avoid it or to get normalcy back, or what they see as normalcy and comfort. And that's to me is truly scary.
It is. I've noticed that there have been, like, recently a lot of people that, now that I'm here in the South, I love the phrases, not a lot of people that have dropped their baskets. And for y'all that are not used to Southern speaking, dropping one's baskets is a very gentle way, Southern way of saying gone batshit crazy for no reason. A lot of people have dropped their baskets lately, and I don't know how it's like you watch them and it's like, why did they just go batshit crazy for no apparent reason? But it's there. So yeah, you're right. They're not meant for the long-term strain, the different things on it, and a lot of drop baskets all around. Anybody else seeing drop baskets, or is it just me? Maybe I'm a drop basket magnet.
No, I'm tripping over baskets right now.
Tripping, yeah, I was like tripping over the baskets.
They just go along with it. It's like nobody questions any of this, and it's mind-boggling to me that they don't question it. They just accepted it and now move on with it. And I don't see it, like Zach said, I don't see it getting. I see something. It has to get worse before it'll get better, because it hasn't gotten bad enough for people to actually say no more.
Yeah, they've done very good with the whole frog in warm water.
Slow
Just
drain,
slowly
slow, yeah.
turning it up. Yeah, but eventually, there's going to be a breaking point eventually. One would hope.
Yeah, one would hope.
Well, I know a lot of people who have said that, the vaccine, that's one of the lines in the sand that, don't cross that line. It's just a good,
I heard a lot of people talking about how government's bad and people shouldn't listen to the government, until the discussion about Trump got heated and extended. And then pretty soon they decided they needed to pick a side. And pretty soon they were either Trump haters or Trump supporters. From not giving a shit, for being anti-government to supporting a political candidate one way or the other. Just simply through societal peer pressure. I think there's a decent percentage of people probably even listening now that say, no way would I get a vaccine. But after 6 months of societal pressure, would begrudgingly get one.
The societal pressure, not being able to board airplanes, different people doing that, and then you would look at it like, and again, that $1,500 was per person. So you have a family with like 3 kids. You have, you're all of a sudden starting to get, quite a little money. Have a couple kids, 3 or 4 kids, and you can vaccinate and pay off your bills. I mean, there's something really sad about that. It's sad. You watch again, and you do it. It's like they're wearing down and then putting like this incentive carrot thing, and it makes me sick. It literally makes me sick because you sit there and know that they're again forcing people into desperate situations, and then the carrot they're dangling.
I think those are the people that are the people with families. You know, my wife's an RN, and thankfully she's back in Florida right now with her family. I have a grandson, and I feel for him because those are the people that have the most to lose. If it comes down to it, it's me, and I know I can take care of myself. If society went to hell today, I would be okay. I feel for the people that have a lot of loved ones and especially children. People will do anything to keep their do anything that thinks that it'll keep their children safe, and those are the people that are most at risk here. And I can't imagine if I had a child that I'd put anything into him that I wasn't absolutely sure what it was. If there was any questionability about it at all, I'd have to research it myself. And I don't think a lot of these people do it. They just take the word of, a lot of people believe in the media. I have friends that believe in the media, and they'll go with whatever they're told. If they believe they're going to keep their family safe, they'll go with it. And that's what scares me the most.
It scares me that they're painting us as the dangerous people for caring so much. I mean, it's really twisted.
We've become the new terrorists.
It's really, really twisted.
Yeah, genius.
I swear this isn't the world. I feel like this isn't the place that I was born into. Sometimes I feel like I'm in a totally different world than I was actually brought up in. I look back to to growing up, and this is not the world that I grew up in.
Exactly.
This is not the world we started Iron Realm Media in, for whatever it's worth. This isn't the world it was 2 years ago. Somehow they've managed to, we have allowed it to be forever changed.
Do you believe this happened before? Like to this scale?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yes,
Something
but
along
differently.
these lines. Yeah.
Because
Something
it was
along these lines, but oh yeah. I mean, look what they did with where we live. They got everybody thinking they're spinning on a rock. Yeah, I think they've been doing mental exercises with us for a very long time.
I mean, the AIDS pandemic changed society an a whole lot, immensely. Big changes from the AIDS pandemic.
Well, I remember back in the 90s, 80s and 90s that, they had us convinced that, everybody was going to die of AIDS. It started in a secluded community. I lived close to New York back then. and then it spread out. And I think there was a huge, I mean, I had a fear of it myself. Everybody was going to, everybody, if they weren't careful, was going to end up with AIDS. And even if you were careful, there's a chance that you're going to end up with AIDS. And, everybody, by 2002, the 50% of the population would be infected with AIDS. And here we are, 2020. And I don't think I really heard anything about AIDS in years.
No, you're right. It's a non-issue these days, except for the people for whom I guess it is an issue. But it's certainly not getting the attention that it once did. But like the AIDS epidemic and COVID have in common is that there was just so much emotional reaction, and that the media would just put out anything and everything that they heard that might have contained the acronym AIDS, with the exception of the chewing gum, which quickly went out of business. But people weren't, you couldn't shake hands, you couldn't share water fountains. I mean, there was a fear because there was just this overload of information. Anytime anybody suspected they understood AIDS and put something out there, the media would report on it and say, this is how it is. And then 2 weeks later, it'd be something different. And 2 weeks later, it'd be something different. And nobody knew really what was going on. And they all just lived in fear. But even that took decades. The speed with which this has happened is ridiculous.
Now, the irony on this, Josh, the irony is it's like watching a train wreck. Sometimes I can't help myself. But in Colorado, they had a press conference with Polis where he brought Fauci on. So I was checking to see what was going on in Colorado world with the rest of my family there and what they were spinning. And at the press conference, one of the reporters asked them, now with this vaccine and it going so quickly, like we had AIDS and things like that, what's changed? And what was funny is listening to Fauci spin that and how he spun it. He never answered. In other words, keep in mind, we had the AIDS thing. He was like, yeah, because of AIDS, we have all of these great scientists and everything that like are working in the background, and they've learned all of these different things. And so like with AIDS, we've never like developed the vaccine, but we do have ways to mitigate the disease. But now because of that, we have all of these scientists that have learned and are working in the background so that when something like this comes up, we can solve it quickly. Well, he never explained why, if they could solve it this quickly and if it was like that, why didn't they just solve AIDS instead of mitigate it? But that was a question on it, and he took like 20 minutes answering it, but his answer was a spin around saying that because of AIDS, they developed all these labs that now they're able to deal with this quicker and efficient and are much better at it. And it's like, but you never solved AIDS. You just said in the same, line of thing, AIDS is, we're only able to mitigate the symptoms.
Wasn't he one of the major players in the whole AIDS epidemic?
Yes. Yeah, that's his claim to fame type of thing. And this is who's, and again, this is who we're looking to for advice. And though they've never come up with the vaccine for AIDS, we know that we can do it this quickly because of AIDS. We can do it this quickly for that. And even though like their pandemic and the wearing masks and everything worked in the 1918s and it really mitigated and worked well, and they had it, a vaccine was never developed that worked. They went after bacteria with it instead, but somehow that managed to disappear all on its own and not come back. But this virus, they know that this virus will not do that. This virus is just going to keep on. It will never on its own like take that other route. They seem to, again, pick and choose their little way of spinning things. So I can't believe that, again, it doesn't set up so many more red flags, and that we allowed them to answer questions. Like, again, the press conference allowed him to answer the question without answering the question at all. We allowed the spin. We asked for the spin. Or again, the media, it's just crazy.
I saw a great video by High Impact the other day. He had CBS News. He had one of the anchors on CBS News, pretty much saying, "We make this up as we go." It's such a great clip. We pretty much make this up. That was almost verbatim. We make this up as we go.
And to be clear, SARS was kind of a big deal. MERS was kind of a big deal. The common cold throughout history has been kind of a big deal, pretty impactful, even on the economy, lost wages, things like that due to the common cold.
Pneumonia.
Well, SARS, MERS, the common cold, those are all coronaviruses. I mean, if they were inclined to vaccinate the hell out of these viruses and eradicate them, they would have.
And of course they would have, because under the guise of a vaccine, again, you don't have the laws and you can mandate it to everybody.
I love the mindset when I talk about people say COVID. I say COVID. There is no COVID. You know, if you're talking about coronavirus. If you believe in the whole germ theory, has been around. Oh no, this is different. This is not. This is something different. I'm like, well, no,
A
it's
novel
really,
strain.
Yeah, it's really not. You know, and this is something that's been around forever. And if that's what you believe, I'm kind of real dubious about it. I don't know.
Same.
I don't know if I say I don't believe. I believe in bacteria, and I believe in there are things that make you sick. I don't know if I believe the germ theory, but it's come to the point that something that we've lived with all our lives, they've kind of weaponized against us. You know, it's just like now it's, you know, the common cold. They've convinced everybody is something other than what it is. I don't understand. I don't understand. It's like, how do you don't see people dying around you, yet they've convinced you that people are dying everywhere. You know, you've gotten sick before in your life, but now they've convinced you if you get sick, you're gonna die.
Well, for me, there's not a big leap for the people that think that everybody must mandate mask wearing for the benefit of all to, well, we'll just tax you at 90% and we'll give you everything that you need to live because we're the government. That way everybody's equal and it's, you know, for the benefit of all. It's a real socialistic, communistic mindset, I think.
Everyone gets a
It's a slippery slope. It's a real slippery slope, I think.
You know, they started that. I was already out of school, but I think that whole mindset started with, you know, there are no losers anymore. Everybody wins. You know, they took the competitive nature away from people. You know, they bred it out of the children. You know, it's no longer about winning. It's about playing the game. You know, second place. There is no second place. Everybody's a winner. And it's all for the, you know, it's all for the greater good of, you know, the community, the children, you know, all the children.
Well, that creates the Karens. That helps create that societal pressure for the people that want to go against the flow, go against the status quo. They'll have that sense of entitlement. They'll love what you're doing. They'll wish that they could be that free, but they're not brave enough, so they'll just narc you out instead.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any illusions. Like I said, I drew my line in the sand very early. And, you know, I don't know. I just don't see. I hear a lot of people I know. They'll say like Cammy said earlier. You know, they'll get pressured into it, and I keep telling you, if you don't stop now, when will you stop? You know, it's just like you have to pick a point, and that's it. You can't cross it. But I see all these people crossing. They just keep crossing lines. They keep taking a little bit more and a little bit more, a little bit more. Like you said, the frog in the water. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
It's an interesting.
I know me, my baby boy will be all right.
Yep, I'll survive. Write about it one day. Well, I don't know about you all, but I'm getting tired already.
Nope, I think it is about that time. If ever there was a time.
Well, I want to thank you for having me on. I had a great time. I enjoyed myself very much.
Well, Dom, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. I am so excited about the things you've been doing. I can't wait to give it a try myself. Be sure I will be experimenting in my garden this spring.
I also sent you a link for Cami for on the boron.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I emailed it to you a little while ago.
All right. Yeah, I'll check that.
Okay, all. Thank you. And have an awesome
No,
night.
thank you, Dom. Yeah, I can't wait to start playing with this stuff, man. You've opened my eyes so much.
I will keep you up to date on what's going on.
Awesome.
Well,
Definitely
sounds
do.
good, man.
All right, well then let's just get the hell on out of here.
Oh, I have a question for him before he goes. Just really, really quick before we go. You said you were at Flattoberfest. Are you in the Greenville area?
No, I'm in New Jersey.
You're in New Jersey. Okay, and you did say that earlier. I was just like thinking maybe a get together, but okay. Okay, it's time to go now.
Have a good night, everybody.
You have a good night. When you're ever back in the area, look me up, okay?
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Damn, that was awesome. That's the kind of stuff I like. You get hands on, hands dirty, grounded in the dirt, sun on your face. Real live action. That's good stuff. I dig it. Thanks again, Dom. Always a pleasure to have you on. I look forward to having you on again, updating us on the growth of this stuff. I'm still just blown away by the difference some vortexing and some magnets make. Can't be that hard. Anyway, Adam, we missed you. Let's see. He got me a picture for a housewarming present. It was behind me earlier when I had my camera on. I've got it turned off. I'm not going to bother to turn it on now because we're leaving, but it was an awesome collage of just a bunch of IRM logos and artwork and thumbnails, and it was really cool collage. And he had it done up on a canvas and stretched and mounted it up on a board, and it's awesome. He said he got it for the studio. I think I'm going to be putting it in the front room, right in the entryway as you walk in the front door. That's how much I dig it. So thank you again, Adam. Wish you could have been here. Shout out to Walter. Happy birthday, Michelle. Hope you enjoyed your time with him, because you won't get it next Friday. Just so you know. Thank you, John Savage. There it is. Thank you, Zach. Always a fun time. How in the world did that get turned down?
Thank you, Josh.
Oh, well, you're welcome. That is weird.
You are a wonderful host.
Well, I feel like I've been kind of phoning it in. I really need to get my studio settled. Everything just feels like it's transitory, transitionary, something. Where's Walt to vocabulate for me? Damn it.
We miss you all. Love ya.
But it's not settled enough. It's I don't know. It's hard to get organized. I'll say that. But I'll do my absolute best. Thank you, Cammie. It's always a pleasure. Give your thanks to Bob too. Having him share you with us on Fridays. We do appreciate it. Shout out, Bob. I've seen you lurking. And I guess that's everybody, huh? Damn.
That's it. Everybody have a great weekend.
Love you guys. Be good. Be well. We will see you right back here next week for another exciting episode of Have No Sphere on the Iron Realm Media YouTube channel, D Live, Facebook, Twitter. Shit, who else knows where else? Well, it's all right down there at the bottom of the screen. There's Twitch. Can't forget Twitch. Anyway, love you guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.